Listen, you smell something?
Human emotions are materializing in the form of a viscous psychoreactive plasm with explosive supernormal potential.
What a discovery, a psychoreactive substance.
Do you know what this equipment is used for?
Boggle or Super Mario Brothers?
We'll have fun!
Yeah, still doing it. Really quite good work there.
My friend, don't be a jerk.
We've got no choice. Call the Ghostbusters.
Super Jackpot!
Welcome to Extraplasm Podcast. It's the only podcast on the internet that celebrated its 46th episode instead of its 50th, and that did so with a Ghostbusters Afterlife commentary. I'm your host, Jim Maritato, aka Vape Maniac from the internet, and what you're about to listen to is an extracted segment from episode 46, the Extraplasm Giant-Sized Annual. What follows is the Ghostbusters Afterlife commentary track from that episode, where the show was joined by Jason Fitzsimmons of Ghostbusters News, Tom Henry of TCU Toys and the Containment Unit Autograph Collecting Group on Facebook, and Tony Taylor of Fantazm Toys. So we're going to get right into the commentary track so you don't have to dig around for it inside of episode 46, or if you've never listened to the show before but somebody told you, hey, there's a commentary track you should check out, this is your easy access to it. So don't forget your popcorn and your M&Ms and consider combining them because that's freaking amazing. And if this is your first time checking out Extraplasm Podcast, feel free to find the show on your favorite podcast platform of choice and subscribe, and follow us at Extraplasm on Instagram, X, or Extraplasm Podcast on Facebook and YouTube. Enjoy the show. Joining me on the podcast for a very special event and what I'm sort of calling giant-sized Extraplasm is a panel of amazing people who have joined us over the last 45 episodes, leading us up to episode 46, the one in which we allegedly find our voice. And I want to say before any of these folks come on, that they're all here because my viewpoint is that the voice of the podcast is the folks who come on. That was the thing that I realized in the Finding Our Voice, is that the podcast wouldn't have the same voice if it wasn't for the people who come on and do a great job and want to share things with us, and the folks especially who like enjoy coming back and talking on a regular basis and who I really enjoy talking with. I'm now reiterating things I've said twice, but this, folks, is going to be one of the shows that we don't edit much because it's a watch along, and we're going to watch Ghostbusters Afterlife, and we're going to do it with Tom Henry, not Hardy, from TCU Toys, Jason Fitzsimmons from Ghostbusters News, and Tony Taylor of Fantazm Toys, aka Tony Taylor Toys. How are you each doing? Tom, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Jim, how are you?
I'm thrilled you're here. And I mean that. I'm stoked to be like here with each of you and to be sitting down and watching a movie that we all love. And so thank you so much for coming on and doing it. And also I'm stoked to see what else you're going to be doing with TCU Toys. You sent me a mystery box that I got from you of autographs this week, that, you know, everybody's like, oh, that's why he got on. He sent you free stuff. No, I paid for it. So stop it. But realistically, I've had so much fun opening autographs and stuff over the last few days from the Containment Unit Autograph Group. And so thank you for those mystery boxes because they were a lot of fun to open up. And I know you spent a lot of time working on them. So nice work. So, yeah.
Thank you for your support, Jim. Happy to support you. Thank you for the invite to be here with two titans of the Ghostbusters fandom. Kind of starstruck a little bit. Gotta say.
Wait, you're the guy who goes and meets everybody who's been in the movie and has them sign stuff.
Yeah.
And you're starstruck?
Yeah. Jason has been a figure in my life since before I ever had the Containment Unit or anything like that. Because Ghostbusters News, it's like I've seen his face so many times over so many years.
I'm sorry for that.
Well, we should introduce you next since you've been introduced already by, I said your name, but, you know, Jason Fitzsimmons is here from Ghostbusters News. How are you doing, Jason, from the great white north of Canada that's not so white right now?
I'm excited. I mean, I'm giant sized tonight. I'm very pumped. Episode 46, Ghostbusters Afterlife Watchalong. Yeah,
Barry in the lead, episode 46.
Yeah, it's gonna be big. It's gonna be good.
Come on.
I'm excited about it. Look, it's weird to talk about episode 46 because it's like that's not really a year anniversary by standards. Arguably, it's like there's 52 weeks in a year, but it actually is a year. Like if you look at the release date of this podcast versus when the last one came out, and I've been kind of joking about it that I don't know why I did this to myself, but apparently I decided to start a podcast the week that school started last year, and then I decided to keep doing it, which means that every year I get to do this on like the night before school starts or some crazy nonsense, which is what we're doing tonight for me, for work. But I appreciate so much, like Jason, that you came into this because like you're on a 3-hour time difference doing this to watch a 2-hour movie. And, you've always been awesome and accommodating, despite the fact that I'm like, do you want to do things at weird times? So, and then I see you at like 3:00 in the morning on Instagram and you're like, I'm playing video games. So,
whoa, okay. First of all, that's not normal. I hardly play games. Stray came out for the Xbox Series X, and I've been really into that, playing as a cat. But yeah. I mean, it's 10 o'clock. What else am I going to be doing? I talk and review action figures and toys. What else am I going to be doing at 10 o'clock at night? Really?
Right,
what else do I have that's important? Nothing.
Well,
playing with toys.
Well, that's so what you're saying is I had nothing better to do, man. No, I'm kidding. Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you always for being so supportive of the show. I really enjoy when you come on and we have a like great conversation. I have to say this, like people will message me after you've been on the show and say, it's really fun when he's on. And I'm like, isn't it? So thank you. Because I would spend all your episodes, people like will message me and be like, hey, he was on and I like him. So there you go. Feel good about yourself. That's what you should do. No, standard Canadian response to compliment is I shirk it off.
It's best to keep the expectations of yourself low. You'll surprise yourself that way.
I think that's the thing, the Scotty principle from Star Trek, right? Is like the whole concept that he tells Captain Kirk, he tells, Geordi LaForge when he finally meets him in the 24th century or whatever, that, never give the captain the actual time it takes to do anything. You should always exaggerate it. That way, when you can get it done in the time that it takes, they think you're a miracle worker. So there you go. Same principles. And Tony Taylor Toys, you are a miracle worker of toys and things. That's, we've talked about your black magic that your toys are coming from a couple weeks ago that I said on the podcast, and you messaged me to say, apparently I have black magic in my basement. And I was like, yes, you do. So how are you, Tony Taylor?
I am awesome. I am excited to be here, and it is great to be hanging out with everybody that's in this little box on my computer screen right now with Jason and Tom, and especially you, and of the episode of episodes for a Ghostbuster podcast, number 46. Congratulations. Yeah. I think is in order anyhow.
Thank you.
And this is going to be fun.
Yeah. And part of the reason I wanted to watch this movie is like you just said, this episode 46 thing again is like, this is the movie that coined that term. I was like, we could watch the original Ghostbusters, but like, this is the movie that like where this piece of lore comes from a character named Podcast who has a podcast. I don't remember who said it, but someone suggested that the ideal guest for this show would have been to go get Logan Kim and bring him on for episode 46 and then be like, I found the voice of the podcast introducing Logan Kim. But, it didn't work out that way. And I'm okay with that because I'm glad you're here. And I'm also confident you're probably going to distract us throughout the movie by whipping out weird prototypes and waving them at us. And that's kind of your gimmick. So
yes, prototypes.
You're like, yes, prototypes and other things.
What a gimmick.
Hey, it's a good one. I like it. I think that you should do this in the real world. Honestly, I think that you should have a bag of toys that you have currently in production that you just carry around with you. And then you go to like a bank. And when people are standing there having a conversation about getting a loan, you just pop up next to them and you slowly hold like a muncher at them or something.
Yeah, or like.
Yeah, or that kind of thing. A Kenner, or rather not a Kenner, but a real Ghostbusters cartoon-looking Slimer that you previewed on Instagram a few weeks ago.
I mean, real Ghostbusters, so nice. Ghostbusters-ish, Green Ghost. I mean, yes. Kenner-ish, copyright-ish. Yeah, very much in the style of.
Yes. In the style 100%. Of, inspired by. Yeah. Inspired by, but not made by. That's it. All right. Well, I'm so stoked that you are all here. I've said this a million times, but I really genuinely mean this, that you've all contributed so much to the podcast. And for those of you listening out there and you're like, hey, what about somebody else who could have been on the podcast? Like, yeah, there's a lot of people who could have been, because a lot of people came on the podcast in the first year. And you can't have everybody on a DVD commentary. And this isn't a DVD. That's weird. I'm like, it's a DVD commentary. Who uses DVDs anymore? It's a movie commentary. But it's hard to, have like everybody on. In fact, at one point, Chris Stewart was hoping to join us for this, and he wasn't able to. And I said, I may do this and get some more people. And he was like, you should be careful about that. And I went, you're a guy who's actually made a fan commentary that's actually on a DVD. So I'm going to listen to your advice. So if you're wondering, like, why didn't you go get 10 people to do this? Because it made sense to do it with, the 4 of us. And I want to say this, like, my plan for the future is I want to come back every 46 episodes. Like, I think this is like the new design. Like, the thing we come out of a year is every 46 episodes, we come back and we celebrate the previous 45. And when we do it, we watch a movie we all like, and it doesn't be like, it can be a rotating panel of people. So like, you guys are doing it the first time around, but like maybe the next time we do this, it's with 3 different people who've been on the podcast a bunch of times who are really awesome. And so, if you didn't like, if you're out there, you're going like, why didn't you give me the call? I was sitting by my firehouse next to my red phone, and my Janine would have rung the bell, and I would have come and done this commentary. It's just because this is what worked out. So next time I'm going to call you maybe, because who am I going to call? Somebody who might be you, and probably not He-Man, even though it's a birthday party for this podcast. Yeah. That's one of those pieces that people will never know exists in the podcast. One of those rambling tales that gets edited out. It's live, everybody. Welcome to a commentary.
Yarn. All right.
I'm here for it.
All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to start this thing from the Sony logo. If you're listening out there and you want to listen to us talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife, if you don't, then I don't know what you're here for the rest of this, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to chat about Ghostbusters Afterlife while we watch it and share some stuff with you about how we feel about it, some random fun facts we've learned about it, and kind of give you just a conversation. These are all 3 people who've come on the show who have great stories to tell about things, and who've like got excellent knowledge about this film. One thing I do want to say is that there was a person who was supposed to join us tonight who was unable to, who I hope can join us in the future for something, and that's Austin Young, aka Ray Cameron on the internet, from Central Oklahoma Ghostbusters, who was originally slated to join us, and I had hoped would be here because he is sort of the prop master of the group of people. He's a guy who builds replicas and things, and so when we get things wrong, or at least I do, about this, if you're listening, Austin, don't shout at your podcasting device. I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best in your absence, because I was hopeful that you would be around to be like, this is why that prop looks the way it does, rather than me trying to riff on those things. And I'm joking, but I'm really grateful for Austin too, even though he wasn't able to make it tonight. As you all know, he is eventually making robes for anyone who hits 5 times. And Tony has pointed out this is actually his 5th episode, if you include the one he did with Badoochi. Although if you were a listener of the podcast a few weeks ago when he was on, I did say he didn't get to count that visit as a unique one. So for him,
technicalities.
I think this could be my 4th.
It might be. I don't know. I don't think this robes thing is necessarily happening unless we all start giving Austin some serious money.
I just want Tony and I to meet in New York and like wear robes and do like horrible Hugh Hefner impressions.
Now, my idea was it was a very heavy robe that was like on the inside, there's an Alice frame attached to it. And the only way to actually wear the robe is you put on the Alice frame with the straps and everything. And that's how you wear it.
That's a fantastic idea.
Before we get this movie started, you made me think of something I want to mention really quick, which is that one of the things I had hoped to talk about with Austin was a few weeks ago, some like science museum posted the first ever kidney dialysis machine that was like the first ever mobile kidney pump. That's what it was, the first mobile insulin pump. And if you looked at the photo, it was clearly an Alice frame with the shoulder pack, and it was an insulin pump pack. And I was like, oh my God, somebody needs to put a Ghostbusters spin on this. Like, it just, here, this is the pack we're using to raise awareness for juvenile diabetes. We've got the insulin pump pack. It's going to be awesome. So if you're a builder out there and you want to create that, go look at that photo, because it's like an old piece of tech that totally deserves to be worked into a Ghostbusting environment, given that it's on an Alice frame already. Why not do it? So, and it's already a pack. It's already referred to as like an insulin pump pack. That goes on an action figure of some sort, I'm sure, that benefits some sort of nonprofit. Are either of you listening? Anyway, Tom's look on his face right now is like, are you trying to throw like donation demands at me? Yes, I am. I'm trying to give you an obligatory charity event to do. I'm kidding. But
no, I think somebody's going to do a cosplay wearing that pack now, but dressed as Wilford Brimley.
Yes.
With the big mustache because he did those diabetes commercials.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like that's going to be. Somebody's going to pick that up.
Look, we have to do something to offset the damage of Twinkies over the years, okay? It's like the cigarette companies, they had to go pay for anti-smoking advertising and pay for the Truth campaign. So if we start producing insulin pump packs and put them out there in the world with charitable benefit, who knows? I'm just saying. Anyway, now that we've said a terrible idea that no one should actually put into being to begin episode 46 and celebrate the year, why don't we watch Ghostbusters Afterlife, everybody?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start the movie, if you're listening out there, from the Sony logo. So on my world here, at least on my device, I have got the bright actual full Sony logo on at 8 seconds into the video track from like Amazon or from, I don't know, wherever else you're getting it from. There's plenty of places. It's on Hulu right now. You can watch it on Stars if you don't have it right now. You can actually go start a 7-day trial using podcast code. I'm just kidding. I don't have any advertising. No one pays me, but you can go on Stars and get a 7-day trial and watch the movie if you need to and then cancel it. But yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably own it. So 8 seconds is probably about where you're looking to start the movie at. If you're looking at the whole Sony logo, are we all ready to do this?
I'm good.
All right.
Ready to go.
We're going to count down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. The Sony logo is zooming towards me rapidly and is transitioning into the Columbia logo. When I was in the theater, I'm not sure where you all saw this movie the first time you saw it, but I was at the Friends and Family premiere event. Mm-hmm. And when this began at the beginning of the movie and the Columbia logo came in with the sounds of that, the sort of whistling sounds in the background, it was very overwhelming.
Very. I actually got to see it in New York at the premiere. I was lucky to receive an invite with Yes Afsum and got to actually see it in New York City at the premiere.
Nice. That's awesome. I have to say, it was really great to see it in LA, and I have said this before, but I got to watch this movie in a row of seats with Ivan Reitman, which was very, very emotional for me, even though it probably was way too parasocial. But yeah. How did, going into these first moments of this movie, I wasn't sure what to expect. And one of the things that I still don't know, and I don't think anybody knows, is who this actor is.
Oh, drives me nuts. I cannot figure it out. Nobody'll talk.
We know Bob Gunton plays Egon in ghost form.
Yeah.
But this last moments of Egon Spengler's life, no one's ever identified who this person is, and we never see their face. And so it's still driving me crazy that I had this very emotional moment with this character, that when this happened on screen and what's about to happen took place in the theater, I was really emotionally overwrought in the first 90 seconds of this movie or whatever. And I still to this day, I'm I have no idea who this actor is that made me feel so overwhelmed,
Yeah.
I had heard a rumor of who it might have been, and I actually reached out to the person, and I won't name any names, but I sent them a photo and said, hey, I heard you played this role in Ghostbusters, and I wrote them a letter. And they sent it back to me and they signed it. And they're I've never been in a Ghostbusters movie, but you can have my autograph. And then they signed it.
That's cool.
The trap
nice
photo.
That's funny.
Yeah, nice guy.
But I mean, it kind of adds to the mystique, though, not knowing, right?
Yeah.
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 Best intro to a Ghostbusters movie ever, though.
It really is. There's a lot of tension here. There's way more tension here than there is at the beginning of the other two movies.
I saw this for the first time in New York at New York Comic Con. And I just remember realizing what we were looking at when it finally occurred to me who it was.
Yeah.
And just starting to convulse in a way.
Well, I didn't go to the New York Comic Con. I was thinking about it, turned it down, stupid me. And then when it came to the actual premiere, again, it was something where I just thought, you know what, I should probably be at home covering the news, covering the stories and everything. And let me tell you, I wound up watching the movie for the first time at a hole in the wall just a theater with a group of friends. I mean, great experience overall, but definitely not the the majesty. Definitely what some of you guys saw for the first time.
Well, I will say that watching this scene and sort of like watching this unfold, that for me was this sort of visceral thing, because I don't know about you all, but as much as I'm Vank Maniac on the internet, I am very much Spangler Maniac in real life. Like I only play Vank Maniac 100%. On Instagram. You know, it's like, I think so many of us are very much Egon people, you know, and he's the character that I would dress up as a kid on Halloween, you know. But I love this shot of the boot, like with all the tears in the boot that show the weathering and whatnot over time.
Yeah, this fog is amazing.
The fog, I remember Jason Reitman talked about this on the Big Head DVD or Big Head commentary they did for Big Head Club. That fog is practical except for the terror dog. They used dry ice, and so they composited this together to make it look that good, which is pretty amazing.
The only time we get to see the spectral terror dog.
Yeah, there were some of the photos that got released from set with McKenna Grace, like surrounded by the fog.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like there's so much cut out of this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like just from seeing bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Well, the cut and whatever. I mean, there's discussion of what may have taken place in this scene that, you know, may have ended up on cutting room floors that I've heard from folks and things. But like, I left the open debate of, did he do it to himself or not? Which we're not going to answer tonight, everybody. So if you're one of those people out there who's privy to the debate about, does Egon commit suicide to avoid the terror dog? I don't care. This was really emotional for me when it happened. And I was like, he's gone. And then the PKE meter lit up when I was in the theater, and I was like, but he's not. I understood the message of, he's just died, but it's okay. He's still here. He's still part of the story. And it was a really emotional thing. And I hearkened back to being at FanFest. At FanFest, somebody asked Ivan Reitman, you know, how do you feel about the fact that Harold Ramis has passed while you're making this movie? And he just stopped and paused, and he said, you know, Harold is always with us. And that was something that rang true at the beginning of this movie for me. I don't know. So
we just got the introduction to Finn Wolfhard and Carrie Coon.
Yeah.
McKenna Grace.
Mm-hmm.
TCU, the Containment Unit, is a pretty small group, but we did take one photo of Finn holding our patch, and he had like these red highlights at the signing we did, and it went viral. And I got likes from all around the planet from accounts I never would have considered.
That's funny. I was trying to figure out today, because I watched the movie earlier today in preparation for this, what he's eating at the beginning of the scene. And it appears he's eating French toast with no utensils and dunking it into a plate of syrup. And one of his hairs from his mother cutting his hair has fallen in. And I think it's funny because I'm like, that is such a Jason Reitman shot. It's like this quick, like, let's look at the unfolding scene of what's happening here that I'd feel like would not have been in the original Ghostbusters. It would have been something that got cut.
Yeah. I mean, one good thing, though, I think with every Ghostbusters film, they do such an amazing job at setting up the characters, like, in their first scene. Like, you know exactly who they are, their personality, everything. Yeah. Typically within that first, like, minute or two of just their introduction. At least the leads. Yeah. You get a very clear, like, depiction of this family. And I love the way Phoebe talks to her mother. She's just, like, very matter of fact. Like, you're not good with money. Like, if I ever talked to my mom that way, she'd have been like, what? But Phoebe Spangler's like, yeah, you're not good at money, but your quesadillas are awesome. You know? Finn Wolfhard there with the disappearing backpack. Yeah. You have to forgive some things at times in movies.
We're movie fans. We forgive nothing.
We're in the age of AI, right? They could have just slapped a pack on the back of there. If they created an AI backpack, it would have been like all inside out, and it would have had 5 straps on it, but would have kind of looked like a backpack that was scary. Do it in Adobe. Find the best of the 3 options. You're fine.
You can see the mountain in the background.
Yeah.
So, like, when you first saw, like, the photo of Finn Wolfhard, right, that they released, like, the family photo, and you saw Trevor T. Swizzle Spangler for the first time, did you immediately pick up on it? Like, hey, this is a relative of Harold? Or Egon?
I mean, honestly, I kind of did. It was, from my standpoint, I always thought it was weird that they, like, originally, I think many of us thought when they said, oh, there was this farmhouse in the first trailer, people were like, it must be Ray's house. It must be the house that, like, his parents had, you know, left him, and now it had 3 mortgages. But like as I looked at the trailer, I was like, no, like this makes sense that this is going to be like Egon's family because he's the one character who, he's not around to like represent it. So you have to do something with him narratively to set up the story. So yeah. And I think they did a good job of casting to create likeness. And then obviously like McKenna Grace looks nothing like Harold Ramis, but it does not look like she would be like one of his offspring or, forebearers, whatever. But they did such an amazing job here of making them feel like authentic people and real people.
I feel like she has Violet's vibe, Violet Ramis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just with the hair, and I don't know. You see those pictures in the book that Violet wrote, and it just feels like that was definitely the direct inspiration.
I also love that this kid walks around with a lock picking kit. She just has one at all times. Like,
and her mom doesn't question it either.
No, it's become a hobby. She supports her kid in her hobbies. It's, just not in science. Just the symmetrical book stacking.
Yes.
So, one of the things that I find interesting here is how they had to do the work to go back and change these numbers because of the pandemic. Because the original numbers were, leading up to 2020 and they had to go back and change things. I just saw a Pterodog statue get held up. I thought somebody was going to make one of those at one point.
Yeah, someday.
Yeah. All right, the house is shaking. You're tuning in now and you're like, what's happening? I started late. It's okay. You're just coming to the movie. The table's shaking and the kids are under it. This is like, what's funny about this is that this is all practical, just shaking a table. There's like there's nothing going on here other than shaking a camera and shaking a table to make that work. Which is great. And then, of course, if you look at her shirt, for folks who may not know this, the Easter egg of her shirt is that it's actually all of the logos from the Zener cards, which is kind of cool. So I want a what if. The what if is, what if he got to the PKE meter first?
I'm also just kind of curious as to the corners, what have you, removing the body. I mean, they must have done like a horrible job. just invest. Obviously, there was no investigation. So
I really wish we got more to this.
Yes.
Yeah, Queen Annie Potts.
Yes.
It feels like it cuts off right when you're just But her outfit, I just love it. She's screaming Janine though. It's amazing.
I'm really hopeful she's going to have a bigger part in the next movie in Firehouse or whatever it will eventually be called. And if you're listening to this in the future, you already know. But yeah, I really wanted to see so much more of her in this film. And I mean, we do get to see her back at the end, in the sort of post-credits stuff that happens. But I think that she probably had a lot more in this film. We just didn't get to see it. So.
Yeah, she was like second billing, wasn't she, at one point? Like it was her and Ernie were the only returning names on some poster.
Yeah.
They must have cut a lot.
I remember early on, people were trying to decide if like she was going to be the grandmother of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a funny idea.
Yeah.
It is interesting to wonder if they're going to dive into that at all. Like, come the sequel when it eventually hits.
Yeah.
But, it is a good little story point though. The fact that so far we don't know, there is that kind of, hidden area, that hidden aspect of the background and everything. You can definitely add like another layer to the Spengler family. Well,
and the other part of it is like, what was Janine's relationship with Egon? If everybody else had been so like distant from him and was completely out of communication with him, but she was managing his finances or what little there was to kind of keep the lights on, as she puts it, then what, was she far away? Did she come all the way from New York to meet them? Or was she living like somewhere else in Oklahoma? Like, where's she been? So I would like to know more about where Janine was during all of this. And I hope we get to hear a little bit of it.
Also, it would be helpful for her to like warn them over the fact that, there may be like an Ecto-1 in the barn and there's like nuclear tanks on top of it. And, maybe be careful.
You have to assume she knows, right? Like if she knows the state of the house and everything that's going on, like she has to which is odd. Like, what is her like? If in that case, like, she has still a friendship with Winston, but you know, and she can call Ray on the phone, presumably. But they're like, we won't talk to Egon. She's like, I know where he is. He's with the car in Oklahoma.
That's the thing. If she is talking to Winston, why is she not the one telling Ray that Egon has passed away? Right?
Hey, continuity, plot points. These are things for talk and debate. You know.
Sometimes you just have to sit back and just enjoy the movie and not think too much.
All right.
Don't pull the thread lest the sweater unravels.
Yes.
I'm just trying to inspire new debates on GB fans. That's why we made this podcast commentary.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a miracle and a feat in and of itself that this movie even exists.
I agree.
And yeah, so I just appreciate it and enjoy it for what it is.
They should do a comic book or something that fills in that 30-year gap, and then everybody will be happy.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
I would love it.
They're not going to take time in a movie to do it because you have all these new characters that need to shine.
That would be great.
This is Jim's favorite character, though, right here.
One of my favorites. Here she is, Roller Granny. Nope.
Tom, did you meet her?
Oh yeah,
that's
Danielle.
right. Yeah.
She's great. Yeah, she was very captivated by the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, had a lot of fun.
Not that I should take credit for that signing happening or anything.
You should 100% take credit for that signing. Yes.
And for the folks who've never heard that story, that happened largely because I sent her an email or an Instagram thing. I can't remember what it was, but we made a meme out of her saying nope. That's what it was. JD Raymer, friend of the podcast, JD Raymer, made a meme out of her, and we posted it and sent it to her, and she was tickled by it, and we ended up messaging back and forth, and I kind of said, like, you've now joined a club of people who a bunch of weirdos like us will love forever because you've been a character in our movie. And like, thank you so much for your performance. And it kind of opened up a dialogue, and it was kind of cool. So
kind of a jerk move. Ghost Egon knocking the chessboard off like
he's,
that.
You know, he's pretty aggressive.
A little more subtle ways to do that, but nope. Like a cat just knocking things off.
Yeah, you have to wonder if, like, was it towards the end, was he just like knocking things over angrily when he walked around the house?
How did we not get a chess tie-in like board game for this?
I know,
like
right?
There was Clue. Like, there was Clue.
Well, but I mean, like, I want like a chess set. I mean,
yeah,
this movie itself, like
Ghostbusters chess set, you say?
Hey,
welcome to the Fantazm Toys TCU Toys brainstorming session, brought to you by
Since
Ghostbusters
Tom's in here,
Afterlife.
we might have to start saying dibs. This was a good misdirect, though. It was funny. I did laugh out loud when this happened. The light goes out.
Yeah, what I think is funny about the light going out is this, I believe, is the light on his phone, right?
Yeah.
Which does not work because there is no coverage, right? And his phone dies, and as the phone dies, it goes click like a flashlight being turned off.
Yeah, it's got a weird noise. Yeah.
It's such an odd little thing, but it works. It like feels like it belongs there, even though your phone never makes that noise when you turn it off.
You know, I know our prop guy isn't here, but they built that entire farm. How are we not looking at eBay auctions with like a chunk of the house
inside and out?
I think it has to be somewhere. Like I think it has to be like a set that gets built for a soundstage, because they took it back to the soundstage too.
They did it twice. They built it twice.
They took it apart and they brought it all the way back to like put it on a soundstage and do all of the end of the movie stuff, right? So
I thought they built two.
No, it's the same house. They took it apart, I believe, and they put it. I mean, I could be wrong.
Really?
Somebody out there will like correct me in the future if this is a commentary you hear. I'll get email after email. It's like, remember when you said this somewhere around 31 minutes and 22 seconds in the commentary where you said that the house was the same one? It wasn't. But I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah. That's like one of the craziest feats, is that they not only built it once, but they built it twice. So I imagine it exists somewhere.
Are you allowed to get a job when you're 15 years old?
Yeah, you can get a job when you're 15.
Can
the earliest you can work at a federal law level in the United States, I believe, is 14, but you're restricted from doing certain jobs. You can't like...
Is Spinners a federal job?
No, I mean, like, I don't mean it's a federal job. I mean federal policy on labor laws and child labor. I had a job when I was 14. I made the strategic and smart move to work as a janitor in my middle school after school. No, I didn't get beat up at all. Don't worry.
Can I say, as someone who like managed a retail store at one point in my life, I don't want to like disrespect any young kids out there, but hiring a younger kid is an absolute pain in the neck. Just if you sell anything whatsoever that is, you know, like a video game by chance, it's like mature rated, what have you there. There is so many like little things they cannot do. There are so many like little small things. I understand. Hey, if you're a little kid, you're looking for a job. I don't want you to hate me. I'm just saying I understand why people aren't hiring you. Sorry, just had to go on a tangent.
Yeah, if you're out there listening right now, you're like, I'm 14. I've been trying to get a job at Taco Bell. What's the matter? Why are you so ageist?
Well, that's...
The GB News intern hopefuls are all crying a tear.
Meanwhile, this movie's like, kids can be Ghostbusters. Give them jobs.
Food's a little different.
I just knew he lied about his age.
Yeah.
I was wondering the logistics. But hey, Paul Rudd. How about that?
We kind of missed his arrival. And here's Podcast. Who's going to talk to us about his podcast?
He's going to say the things.
Yes. But yeah, Paul Rudd's appearance in this movie is fantastic. I love that he's in this film because he's funny. I mean, I don't feel like I'm watching Ant-Man is the point. Like, as much as Paul Rudd brings Paul Rudd to every movie in the same way that Bill Murray can bring Bill Murray to every movie, like, I don't feel like I'm watching the same character. And I so appreciate that Gruberson is his own, like, thing. He has his own weird, sciencey, gimmicky things, and I like it. So
I think I got just as pumped from his little video announcing that he was going to be in the movie where he filmed it in front of the fire. I think I got pumped for that as I did for any of the trailers or anything else that was released, where he said he slimed himself. That was classic.
So one of the things I hope for in Firehouse is that we learn a lot more about podcasts.
How do you think that shakes out? Are we speculating or no?
I mean,
is it too early to speculate?
I think we could speculate. We should probably light on speculating just because we should talk about the movie we're watching rather than a different movie. But
that's a good point.
Yeah,
I want to know more about this hardware guy.
Yeah,
I know it's Carrie Coon's husband in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that.
He has this amazing delivery coming up.
Oh yeah.
Bizarre shit. Cujo. I like that when they start this scene, there's like, your school's still on VHS. As a public educator, I really appreciate this joke.
It's so smart too to make, you know, him like the Rick Moranis character essentially. Could you imagine if we got Ghostbusters 3 in like 1999 and Chris Farley, instead of being a Ghostbuster or something along those lines, was the Rick Moranis character? Like, it's casting him so off type. It's really smart.
Right. Even to the level where she says, I thought you were a football coach. There it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like, is that a compliment? Or what are you trying to say about my intellect? Something? I don't know what you mean. So I want to know if they went out to like get some science consultation from like the production designers of what to put on this whiteboard, because like trace equalization mean window, like what is all this stuff? I don't even...
Maybe Dan Aykroyd just went nuts on the board. There's like, Dan, write out technical stuff.
Right now, people are running to their keyboards to Google in like surface consistent components. That wink is amazing. I don't know how long if like McKenna Grace practiced that wink, but she winks
she
like
looks
a
like
weird
a ventriloquist doll.
She looks like a weird doll you find at like thrift stores, you know, like have been around for 35 years and only one of the eyes moves anymore. Like that's.
I hope that the joke bit continues because it's really
it's great. Really great.
Every joke is so funny.
I've never seen anybody wink like that in anything like ever other than that wink. I don't know how she does that. It's so freaking funny.
It almost looks like CGI. Like it looks
like the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi on the Blu-ray.
It's like too perfect.
How did he get talked into this? He's just like in the freezer, just pulling apart frozen burgers. We don't ever actually see any adult supervision inside this restaurant, do we?
No. There none whatsoever.
So as much, Jason, as you're like, people don't want to hire teenagers because it's a hassle, the people who are supervising them don't even want to be there.
Well, okay. A restaurant, a totally different scenario there for that. I mean, any kid can slop taco meat into a shell or make a cheeseburger. That's fine. I love the grip tape there on the microphone and everything. Like, podcast, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I love his outfit.
I just love that he's walking around with this mic like everywhere he goes and this giant recorder. Because I'm like, all the podcasting things you can buy are so small. They're all advertised as being, you can carry it around in your pocket and it doesn't take up a lot of space. And he's got this like bag of 4-track equipment that then he's got to be like going home and doing like tape to digital or something.
But I mean, it kind of fits with him though, because like if he's all about like conspiracy theories and such like that and everything, maybe he wouldn't use kind of like the newer style technologies.
Right.
I mean, he uses a USB, obviously, but
yeah. But when he records the podcast, he's also got to record EVPs and other stuff, presumably. So you can't do that with a digital mic. It doesn't work. You got to have analog equipment for that because that's how ghosts work.
Okay, I don't know.
We just saw the Cannibal Girls reference on the marquee there, reference to Ivan Reitman. Has anyone seen that?
I have not, actually.
I have
not either. Next commentary.
You have, Jason?
I have. I'm a sucker for Eugene Levy. Anything Eugene Levy. So
I love the podcast safety protocols where he just covers his face with his shirt. He's just like, we're good.
That works, man.
Do this.
Now, for me, like this is the one scene. Like this is the very first scene in the film that, for me, really kind of like conjured up like that Ghostbuster vibe, just with like that kind of like Bernstein score. I don't know. I think this is like probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole film. Just podcast explaining the whole thing, Chandorian curse, all that.
Yeah. I think about this scene sometimes and I wonder, did he just come down here to hang out often? Like, was this like, how some kid, like there's a place in your neighborhood if you're a suburban kid growing up and it's like, there was a development they were going to build, but then they ran out of money. So there's a whole bunch of foundations and random basements that they dug and people hang out there and do stuff. Like that's this for these kids in, Shandor land in Somerville.
Not to like pull the thread, but it's a little, it doesn't ring true for me that he understands and knows all of this about this Shandor cave, but he's never heard of the Manhattan Crossroads.
It's weird.
I feel like this kid with the podcast such as that would have some information.
And I believe that he's also aware of that everyone built the stuff in town, right? Because he lives in town. So like later on in the movie, when they're sitting around in the diner and they're like, "Who's Ivo Shandor?" And he's like, "Oh, he's the guy who built everything around here." Yes.
Yes.
This is the scene where you can look at it and go, which of those components came from the Ecto-1A and which did not? I loved this part where he's just like... This is one of the most important scenes in this entire movie for me. I mean this. As much as I joke about this on a regular basis, that what's about to happen is something that I need to, complete my collection. Because there it is. There's the My Little Pony USB stick that has this podcast on it. But to me, like I have said this many times, that this is one of my favorite scenes in this movie, because this is like this just raw scene of like 12-year-old friendship, which is like making a new friend when you're in a weird kid and meeting another weird kid and becoming friends and being like, okay, there's people like me in the world. That's kind of cool. And so I just love this scene. It's just like something that it feels like a very good, feel good kind of moment. And, an otherwise kind of weary world. So. I love that he's like not going to stop her. He's like, I'll document it. It's fine. You might get just eaten by a dirt tornado or something, but I'm going to document it at least.
All right. Well, there's a recent piece of technology he's holding, so that kind of that kills the whole concept there.
It does.
Earlier.
It also makes me wonder if he only uses it around Wi-Fi because there's no signal in town. So, or is it just that maybe they came from Illinois, and given their state of not being able to pay their bills, they were like using like like temporary phones or something, like pay to play phones,
like burner phones.
Yeah, like burner phones. She was hiding so that's what it is Callie was drinking lots of wine and she was hiding from the bill collector. She was just getting burner phones every month.
She's also hiding from her ex-husband Oscar.
Yes, Oscar, obviously her husband Oscar.
Yeah.
This is great. And he's just like, "You're out of here. Get that shit out of here." This like piece of prop work that they did to kind of, build the connection between the two of them is really fun. Because we get to like iconically see the PKE meter and we have a relationship with it. And I think it's such a smart way to do this because you can't have the actor in the scene who you like, but you can have a piece of equipment that you have a good relationship with that he used to carry around all the time. And it just kind of creates that link for you as a fan to be like, okay, yeah, this is the right object. And as much as like he'll show up in a lamp later, and there's jokes about how much people love lamp. Like if you're into that in joke, then you know what I'm talking about. But like this use of the PKE meter was really smart, I think, to represent him throughout the film.
Yeah. And like, I mean, it comes a little later here, but to an extent, like even some of the timing, like when she asks, how'd you build all this? And it highlights, like the light highlights, like all of his, credentials there on the wall. Just the timing of that. I mean, there's a comedic element to it.
Jason Reitman's talked about this, that lamp move, and we get to it. We'll kind of point it out.
Look at that. World's best mom.
They couldn't get an animatronic. They had to work. So that he actually did it by hand. Like they just leaned in and had an actor grab, like the stunt guy or the prop guy grab the lamp and just puppet it, which is kind of hilarious. But yeah, you're right. She's like completely assed out. She's bad with money. She's drinking lots of booze. Doesn't represent her particularly well as a mom. You have to be real. And even like she goes on a date, she's like, "Let's go out on a date. Let's go drinking." So we're gonna see what happens with mom in the next movie, maybe. So does that leave Gruberson as the only responsible adult in town? Potentially. It's potentially. I mean, it seems like he at least knows that he's got to take care of students, even if he doesn't really want to be there.
Here's Phoebe opening up her HasLab pack.
Yeah, there you go. This is what it looks like when you open your HasLab trap from the floor. No, when you get your HasLab pack, you were right. They did have the fake floor that you would open up the pieces of that made it, if you wanted to test your HasLab pack and you bought a second one, made it a real pain. Because you had to get through all that stuff. But you were unboxing because you were having your experience. It was really great. So this idea of like, we're going to force the doors open on the trap with a ruler is hilarious. He's so excited. Like, how do you not know this? What's wrong with you? So in the original trailer, the smoke or energy or whatever that pops out of the trap was green. Yeah. Do you think they changed that? Do you think that was a Fugazi for the trailer, or do you think that was a change?
Yeah, I would think so. Probably for, hey, it's Slimer.
It's another thing actually that Jason Reitman talks about in the Big Head Club commentary, believe it or not. Not that I mentioned, you just like, thanks for setting me up to talk about things I know. But he talked about this, that in many different points that like the pit was also blue in color. And if you look at the poster, it's green-blue. And the reason for that is that Sony's marketing department believes that color reads well as ghosts and ghostly supernatural things for audiences. Despite the fact that it doesn't represent the narrative universe in which the movie takes place. He openly says in the Big Head Club commentary that he argued about it and lost the argument, and that the marketing department went with the blue-green, but that they were he and Gil commented they were very grateful that the marketing department upheld like the rest of the vision and narrative of the movie to make sure it was consistent in marketing what they were putting out there. but that was one of the oddities, and that was that they changed to blue-green because that tests better with audiences as quote-unquote supernatural.
Was that footage that they saw on YouTube? Was that some of the stuff that they had unearthed when they started the filming process in the salt mine or whatever, the dailies or the cut footage or whatever it was?
It's all unused B-roll stuff from the first movie that came out of the scanning that they did of that. So then we went out to go get the stuff from, I think he said during Ghostbusters Day or Ghostbusters Fan Fest. That's the thing it's called. That was like they went out to like Kansas or something to go get that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy. Like somewhere in the middle of the country, there's just repositories of American culture and film artifacts that just like, it's in a bunker somewhere under the ground so tornadoes can't.
Yeah, it's like in a cave.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in a mountain.
I love this whole, we're going to power the trap with 12 volt, and it just apparently works that way. You can just run 12 volt batteries to the trap and it loads up.
And knowing what he knows about Ghostbusters, he's aware, and he still wants to do this in a
on his
school parking lot.
Yeah, it's
on
punk rock. Didn't you hear him talk about how punk rock it is a minute ago? That's the whole deal. Science is dangerous. And that's where you go, he's not the only responsible adult in town. He's not even. Like...
And put the miner in a driver's seat of a school bus and
yeah. They did such a good job of like making the trap feel like it had been through battle there. It's very well weathered.
Yes.
Zoom. This is very
so technically all the events following is Gruberson's fault.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically.
Yeah.
He's the idiot who opens the trap.
So it makes me question Egon's intentions. Like, why was he pointing the trap out? Like
why did he
shouldn't
point
it just stay trapped? Why would he tell him about it? Or does like the trap only have power for a certain amount of time?
Maybe he was worried. Maybe he was
worried
the trap would fail and that they would all be in danger.
Sorry.
You know?
Pulling threads.
No, I think it's a fair question. I think look, that's what I love. I love nitpicking stuff. And you can love things and nitpick them at the same time. It's totally true. Like if you're a Star Trek fan, you have to be able to do that because Star Trek will contradict itself. This scene is great. I love him just like basking in the sun. It's so funny. And then when he sets up the ambiance here and he's walking in.
What are you doing?
He's offering color commentary. I also like that they've moved in the house. The books are still all stacked. Like nobody has bothered to be like, maybe we should do something with all this stuff stacked around. They're just living around it.
Yeah, when it comes to like films like this and like, you know, you ever have like that move-in scenario and it's like a creepy old house, there's always that kind of room of just, you just kind of have to accept it, I think. Because like I kind of think back to The Burbs, where you have, you know, the Tom Hanks film. You've got this family that moves in. Apparently, you know, they may have killed the previous owners, but the house is just in disarray. Like, were the previous owners like that? Or was it the family that may have killed them, you know? Like,
I think about this scene, this kind of evokes the vibes of the Goonies house to me. Like the Goonies house in the state of being packed up with all the stuff around the kids, and then they go up in the attic and there's stuff everywhere. It has the very, you know, very strong kind of like adventure film of crazy packed house to it that I like.
Scenes like this make my eyes hurt because they're just darting around the background trying to see
all the
everything
stuff.
I can. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I recall when Adam Savage was releasing like his on-set, you know, videos from this area and like pausing like every little single frame. And it's crazy too, because like they totally did like the entire kitchen and you don't really even see it in the film. And that's where like the toaster and like so many other items are.
Mm-hmm.
They never made it in there to drink the hot cocoa with the rum. Or maybe they did and it just got cut, you know?
Janine gets tanked, table dancing.
If you were this kid and you had a podcast and somebody gave you this book, you would be like, I have 3 seasons done. Like, this is all the material I need.
Are we to assume that this is Tobin's?
I believe
that he's
so,
leafing
yeah.
through?
I think so. It could be Spade's catalog.
Feel like they were going to give that like a close up and it got cut, right? Because of the video game packaging and
You
like
never get to see the cover of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's a really nice prop out there we haven't gotten to see.
Yeah. It could be Spade's catalog. I don't know.
Well, the figure came with the Tobins, right? Like that was like the same book and everything.
Yeah.
It did come with a book, I think.
Somebody did come with
Yeah.
Tobin's, yeah. And it does
Yeah.
look like the video games version, yeah.
That's a car that belongs in Oklahoma.
Yes.
I love all these actors that are in here because if you ever Google Ghostbusters, like under like Google News, occasionally one of them will get a job or like a new role and it'll just be like, and who starred in Ghostbusters Afterlife. And it's just, you'll like look it up on your movie database and it was like, yeah, Finn Wolfhard's friend.
Yeah, I don't know if these kids have names. Like
one of the gals, she's in the show, what is it, Reservation Dogs, and I know she's been hitting it pretty big.
I don't mean names in the industry. I mean names as characters. Like, aren't these people
Or just
names
names
now?
in general.
Did they become names?
Yeah.
Did they actually do anything after this? No, I mean like, do they have character names that we just never learned?
There's somebody credited as Thick Neck on IMDb.
Jim, they're just all AI. That's all.
They're just AI performers. No,
Yeah.
no.
And this is exactly something I would do at this age, was sneak off somewhere and find the most dangerous spot there is there and sit there and chill. And
Yeah. It's abandoned suburban places. Well, that about sums it up.
Celeste O'Connor, you know, she was relatively new when this started, but now she's going to be in a Spider-Man movie.
really?
Really, yeah, Madam Web.
Yeah, that's true.
Her career really taken off.
Yeah.
I mean, really with the younger age, I mean, with the TikToks and the Twitters and everything, we're going to see such like a new younger fan base. And I mean, like, just like obviously Finn Wolfhard and now McKenna Grace, like they've got such a hardcore devoted fan base. Like I post something of just Finn Wolfhard and like that post like lights up, or people just take the image and repost it, you know, a million times over. But yeah, like such a hardcore fan base, and even Paul Rudd to a degree.
See, this pit was green in the trailer, and that burst was like blue-green in the trailer, too. This was not orange in the trailer. This was a thing marketing attacked as well.
So was that Muncher that got out?
I don't know. Like, I don't really think it's clear, like, what that is. Because it's, yeah, I don't.
Because the Terror Dogs are still there until one goes to Walmart. So the next ghost you see is Muncher.
He's got to go get some eggs and, you know, a loaf of bread.
I love this map.
This map's great.
So cool.
It's one of my favorite pieces of Ghostbuster props.
Yeah, it's a really great piece of like lore, you know, that you could do.
Yeah, I wish it was more involved in the movie. I love the way it looks.
I remember that one of the most exciting things when people bought the Reebok shoes that came out around this movie was that they came in the map.
I bought that pair for the map.
People were like, I hate these shoes, but this map is great.
Yep. Now here's another question.
Yeah.
So with all the stuff Egon took, did he also take the pole from the firehouse?
I've asked the same question.
Tear the pole down and throw it in the back of the Ecto and like leave the door open? And
I have asked the same question. Like, where did he get a fire pole from? Like, was that some of the bizarre shit? Was he was like, I need a gold fire pole, like a gold painted one? But yeah, it looks like the fire pole from the firehouse, like just taken out.
It's very similar.
Didn't Murray actually have a fire pole in his house? Jason, do you remember anything about this from like 10 years ago?
I believe so. It was like one of his houses that I think when it was being sold, right?
Yeah. It was like Bjork had owned it or something, and it was like, oh, fire pole from Ghostbusters.
That
I'm
does
pretty
sound
sure
familiar.
That's hilarious.
However, if he legit took the fire pole, I mean, that is a dick move.
I told you we're not making a third one.
That would be a straight middle finger right to Ray, is what that would have been.
Yeah, if Egon takes the fire pole, like that's, I mean, there's beyond like 16 ounces of fuel isotope or whatever. All right, so this is my stupid fanboy moment. I'm just going to say this for a second. I love that we got to see the collection of spores and molds and fungus. And this is part of what set off my weird Ghostbusters connected sourdough baking was I was like, Egon Spengler would have been a sourdough baker. He's got to like have cultures and, you know, grow things. He could totally bake sourdough. That's what he does when he's not busting ghosts. He's got a bun in the oven and, you know, he's doing research.
This shot made us probably all openly weep in the first trailer, right?
Yeah.
Or second trailer.
Oh, yeah.
But I did wonder just how old this candy bar was. Like, how long has it been in there? Is that a climate controlled basement? Have ants gotten to it yet? These are important questions.
This is such a cool shot with her looking through the glasses.
So when I was at New York Comic Con, when they did the surprise screening, this lampshade was on eBay, or one of them.
Yeah.
And when I was sitting there in the theater and it popped up, I was like, if that's what I think it is, I'm buying it. As soon as we walk out, and it was.
Did you get it?
So I have that in my closet. I have no idea what to do with it. It's just sitting
He's
there.
not with us right now, but Austin was the first person I knew who identified which lamp it was because he's so amazing at prop identification. But he figured out what lamp it was, I'm pretty sure.
And
so yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier, is that they had built some sort of like puppet or wireframe armature to do this scene with. And Jason was unhappy with how it moved. He didn't feel it moved naturally enough to seem like it was, you know, like a human touch to it. And so in the end, they ended up
I did not like it at all.
Yeah. I don't mean you. I mean Jason Wright. I'll specify better. My apologies. But yeah, so instead they did it by hand.
I'm not a huge prop guy. I mean, I love the props, but as far as building them and this part, when she opened it up, my brain exploded.
Oh, yeah.
The first time I saw that.
It was like somebody showing you what's actually in there, right? Like we've never conceptualized what that would look like.
Geigometer. Sniffer.
Yep.
I think a toaster.
Yep.
And I think the flashlights they take down to the subway in Ghostbusters 2 is there as well.
There's so much stuff.
That's
A lot
the
of the
Ghostbusters 2 canon scene.
This is great that like on YouTube, they're just
somebody has, this is how it would be,
and that
this
would
is
be
accurate.
Like in that context, that's got to be a channel that does like I scan old commercials from VHS and archive them for the future. Like
I wanted to click those other videos. I want to see them. I want to see what those other videos are.
I think you
uploaded by Dinosaur Dracula.
How many views does that video have?
What I'm curious about is like, is there a Ray Parker Jr. music video that exists?
The song is canon because Ray and Winston play it in Ghostbusters 2, so the song exists in universe.
Did Ray Parker cut like an actual music video for Ghostbusters then? Just no movie involved?
It would make sense.
Whoa!
It totally.
So if there was,
they totally could use it because they appear in the music video in suits, so it could totally be 100% canon. The music video itself.
Would Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray be in a in-universe commercial if they weren't, like, if those actors exist in the Ghostbusters universe? Would they have been big enough stars at the time to be in the Ray Parker music video?
I mean,
star of Meatballs.
But
I think it's funny that is the only music video that Ivan Reitman ever directed.
He directed that?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Ghostbusters music video.
No way.
They couldn't find a director for it. So he was like, I'll do it. And that's like kind of why, if you look at how it got done, it's like, hey, they're marching down the street in Times Square and they're not wearing some of the stuff they're supposed to be wearing. Because they basically ran out and shot that like how they did other things. Like, let's show up, do it, leave. But yeah.
I wonder whatever happened to like that house facade, like at the beginning of that music video where the girl enters and everything. There's like that whole elaborate set that you see it for like 5 seconds. Yeah.
Now I'm like wondering because
the sound gives me goosebumps.
Who else could have been a star if we were making that video today? If you did the same style of video for Afterlife, who would have been like the walk-on stars of the Chevy Chases of today?
Chevy Chase.
Well, he might shuffle on. I don't know if he's going to walk on. We'll see. I appreciate this like kind of little thing they did here of being like, yeah, it really is hard to unholster and reholster a proton pack. It's really difficult. You ever wear one? You need a friend to do that for you.
It's not so much the getting it off; it's the putting it back on.
It's putting it back on. You're right.
This is impossible.
These goggles on his head. It's just so funny.
Oh God,
they look so good.
He has such a tiny head in relationship to them.
It would be such an amazing HasLab if they had it with a functional camera.
Oh yeah.
This scene in the trailer was something that like you saw the two of them doing this and I was like, oh my God, this movie's going to be so fun.
First time I saw that, it was like in a German trailer or something, and he was speaking German or whatever.
It was mind blowing. They're like, oh my God, it takes pictures now? Oh my goodness. That's going to be great. And I love that it's so analog, but then I thought to myself, I was like, well, how many more shots does he have left? Can you even get Polaroid film? You can do that like 3 more times and then it's over.
That's the one picture they had.
I recall too, like so many people like angry and just like losing their minds over the fact that like her shoulder straps are not on properly. Yeah.
But that's what would happen if you put a proton pack on the first time.
Right.
I mean, I've put one on like hundreds of times and I still do it.
I'm coming.
Yeah, this scene's great. And this is, folks who may not know this, this is Josh Gad basically doing the voice of Muncher throughout this entire movie. So all these weird noises and guttural things are things that Josh Gad made come out of his face. I don't know. But this is like such an odd thing. It's like it's just a warehouse. Just, hey, it's here.
You should find this warehouse, Jim, and go back there and record your Halloween episode.
Do a live show.
Like Podcast just said.
I've got to go to Canada for that. Jason should go.
Hey. I just come to you live.
I'm coming to you live from Rust City.
I sometimes wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning screaming, thinking about the fact that we did not get Muncher Twinkies.
Oh,
yeah.
It was unfortunate.
Like, we were so robbed of him becoming like an actual mascot because I can't see him coming back for the next film. I mean, if we're going back to New York, I would think Slimer or, something new threat-ish. I just Muncher got. I'm just sad. I'm just sad over how
he did
it got
get the
handled.
short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
so cute and bloated and fluffy. We didn't even get action figures.
Hey Tony, how you doing?
Yeah, what's up? How's it going?
Yeah.
I say that I think about Muncher that's funny is that if we had gotten him more, like we saw him. If you remember, he was in the Spanish MasterChef episode or something. It was like MasterChef Spain, and they had a Ghostbusters like themed episode we never got in the US, and he was in it.
The delays in the pandemic wreak havoc on a lot of the tie-ins.
But I also wonder, like, if they had just decided that he was not the thing that was going to propel this movie as much as the mini puffs in marketing, because, like, there's a satire article you can find that I've talked about on the show before that's written by like a sort of Marxist critical culture magazine that isn't. It's funny if you like get that it's funny because it's being critical, but it's like a screed about how Muncher whereas like Slimer represented the era of cocaine and Corvettes, Muncher represents the era of like antidepressants and he just seems like a big sad sack as opposed to Slimer who's like gonna eat everything inside and party.
I just appreciate him that they tried to do something new and tried to harness the way and look and feel of the previous films.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job of that though.
I thought it was interesting too that they chose like an actual like thing to base him on. Like he's a tardigrade. He's like a water bear, right? So it's an actual kind of microscopic being that would exist, but somehow becomes in ghost form. So it's kind of interesting concept.
I love the way you can tell like he's full of metal and like the proton pack is heating it up and like you can see the metal glowing hot inside his gut while he's getting blasted there.
This is really fun when he just kind of the come on, darling, and then Grandpa shows up. It would be kind of weird is if Egon had fixed the car as a ghost, like if he had to wait around longer for a few more weeks and he was like, what should I do with myself? So while he was around on the farm, he just decided to fix the car up, and then he was just out doing donuts in the field with it. Like, you know, dead man behind the wheel.
I mean, I love this film, but God, I remember like watching the scene for the first time, and like the song choice is so unexpected for a Ghostbusters film. I mean, it works great, but so out there.
A lot of the song choices in the film are.
Mm-hmm.
So they talked, I think Jason Reitman talked about this on different places. I can't remember where he said it, but he mentioned that, of course, they grew all of these crops, right? They like started a year before they went and scouted the location. It was still winter. And then they grew all the crops and had like a farmer who was calling them crop reports on how the barley and the corn was doing. And he talks about the idea that when they took the car through the barley field and did the donuts, the car was so hot and and they had so much barley caught in the radiators and stuff that the car smelled of toasted barley.
I think the people at Hasbro heard that story when they were making that Ecto 1 they made, and those ones came with extra charred front ends.
They did apparently also sell the crops after the movie and turned a profit on them, which is also kind of hilarious. That one of the ways that they made money was they sold the crops.
What crop did they plant for Firehouse?
You know, yeah, exactly. The crop was urban blight. That's what they grew. It's in New York City. I'm kidding, but like.
One of the most random things I've ever received, like in the mail, was a takeout menu from this restaurant.
Really?
What? Wow! I want one.
A fine fellow sent me the takeout menu, and then he sent me like samples of like where the dirt farm was, where the Shandor sign was, like rocks from it and such like that, with like pictures of like and video of him picking it up. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I had to explain to my wife why I need the like dirt samples. You gonna throw those out? No.
Apparently these mugs are unobtainium. Like nobody can find them. They're very difficult to get. So much, I guess Jason Reitman really likes them and tries to find them. So if anybody else is looking, if you're out there as a mug maker, come on this show and tell us about your mugs. Make some of these mugs for people.
Did Jason use an unobtainable mug and an unobtainable flash drive specifically?
I think that is like... Yeah, I think the prerequisite for a prop.
Well, the flash drive story, as I understand it, is that they wanted to use a Hello Kitty flash drive. That was the original idea in the script, but they were told they couldn't because of particular, like, you know, legal arrangements like toy licenses and relationships. And so instead, you got a My Little Pony, which happens to be owned by Hasbro, the, you know, of course, official toy licensor of Ghostbusters. So, but originally, podcast would have had Hello Kitty stuff. So if you're out there being like, I'm gonna like, don't worry, I've thought about it. For those of you who are like, why don't you just buy a Hello Kitty jump drive? I'm like, I've thought about it. I really have. Like, I have the real one. I know it was original.
I love how just podcast is so quick to learn the RTV.
Yes.
And luckily it was already all charged up and ready to go.
Yeah.
He is just able to intuit how everything works, except for throwing the trap. That's the one thing you can't ask. Like, that's what we missed it because I was talking about other stuff. But when that scene, when he throws the trap and botches the throw with the music behind it, is so hilarious. It's just like, you think it's like, they're going to catch him. And he just botches the throw so bad.
I feel like Nuggets was supposed to be like the big summer catchphrase.
I can't believe we still don't have a replica RTV at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty complicated
seems like
thing.
Such a slam dunk.
It seems like it's a pretty complicated thing. There's a lot of ins, a lot of
car?
outs. Well, a remote control car that also has to do things with opening doors and things, and you know, it's a lot of ins, a lot of outs. But maybe we'll get one. We don't know what the next HasLab is yet, but if you're listening in the future, you might already know. And you're like,
Wait a minute. Are we saying there's
turns
going to be a
out
next HasLab?
It's a ghost popper. I'm sure there's a next HasLab.
Yeah, sure.
I feel good about it.
1984 proton pack.
I have jokingly said that what Hasbro could very quickly do, not to get stuck in the toy conversation when we watch a movie, but hey, they already gave us this Neutrona wand, right? So in Hasbro true form, they could just take off that little shotgun muzzle. They could just give us the normal handle without the duct tape, and they could be like 84 Neutrona wand, and we released another product. It's just like our lightsabers. We just changed the color of the blade and we put some different decor on the handle. So
yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't buy one or three because I would need to because I'm crazy, but this is so fun. Like this whole scene of them driving through the city and shooting is like the first time we get to see this. It's a cartoon. Like I never imagined they would do this in a movie because they never did it in a movie. And
yeah,
they only did it in a cartoon.
Pretty much takes you back to like old. I'm like almost playing with like Kinner action figures, you know, like the car seat on top of the Ecto-1.
And I love the way that she's hanging out the door, like with like one hand on the wand, trying not to lose it. Like,
did you see the sheriffs were also in the Chinese restaurant there?
Yes. Everybody, it's like where it all begins is that moment. And there's that moment where the music stings and goes on the road again. There's like one bar of on the road again that comes out that just is so hilarious. And they cut back to the car.
He gets so excited.
He just knows what he's doing. He knows. He's worked it all out. Took like 30 seconds. There's a ramp. This thing goes down the ramp. My question right now is, what are the goggles being used for? Like, what is their utility in this moment? For players of Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, clearly Phoebe does not have the dual vertical grip equipped. I should be able to reel that in.
I love the way the proton beam slaps the road. That's awesome.
This seems like so incredibly dangerous, this entire stunt.
Yeah, I mean, and I know we kind of mentioned it earlier about Muncher and all that. I'm really hoping with all the other stuff that's apparently on the table and like possibly coming out, like animated, feature-length film, Netflix series, all that we do get to see more, not necessarily of this kind of scenario, but you know, we'll see Muncher or like some of those other kind of characters or ghosts from some of the past films kind of pop up again.
Yeah, and what happened to Bug-Eye Ghost? Like, we're going to see him later in the movie. So what happened to him after this whole shindig in Oklahoma went away? Did he go on vacation? Like,
well, he signed a deal with Ilphonic.
Yeah, he's in the new DLC now.
Yeah, he's exclusively, you know, available in Spirits Unleashed. So
I love how Muncher follows the roads.
Yeah.
It's his only way he knows how to get around.
Maybe he's eating a lot of cars, you know, like he's eating a lot of GPS units and it's just kind of messing with him.
Maybe he's one of the miners, right?
Yeah.
That died in that mine, so he's drawn to
Hey,
it.
that's actually a really good explanation, Tom. I like that. Good job.
I recall when that first Fright feature figure was shown in, like there was like the Ecto-1 license plate like in his belly, and everybody thought that he was gonna like eat the Ecto-1 at one point.
Yes. I do remember that.
That's a beautiful shot.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I love that the little RTV also has headlamps. So that I guess the person driving it can see where they're going while riding on top.
Well, I know part of the design of it there, Ben Eady was saying that they kind of made it almost like appear like a face, like with like those little eyes and such, right? So
I also love the little squeaky hop that it makes when like the doors close and it goes squeaky, and you're like,
yeah,
almost has like a Wall-E quality to it.
It does. It's very fun. I do want one. You're right. They should make one. I would buy it. Who am I kidding? I would buy two. I would need one.
Cases?
No, I need one outside, one to take outside, and then one to leave in the house. One in the box, one out of the box.
Very Ghostbusters 2 to the museum type scene.
It is kind of funny now that they just like drive back into town. Like that's such a kid thing to do. Like, we ran through town and we destroyed a lot of shit in this very obvious looking car. Let's just drive right back into town again. Nobody will notice.
And also at like the slowest speed possible. Like, we're not going to take the back roads. We're just
Yeah. Say we
Completely
fight.
unaware they're the most wanted in town.
How old is that Twinkie?
Still good.
They last forever.
I mean, here's the thing. He hasn't been using this car. We know this. Like at the beginning of the movie, he's driving around in the Ivan built truck, right? Like that's if you don't know this, for folks listening out there, if you look at that truck, it has an emblem on it that says Ivan built, and it's literally like named after Ivan Reitman. But he's got that work truck at the beginning of the movie. He's not in the Ecto-1. It doesn't run. So that Twinkie's got to be like super old. It's like 5 years later.
Do you know there is a massive, massive difference between American and Canadian Twinkies?
Really?
What?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
You guys have like just a sugary gold down there, while us like it has the cake is not, it doesn't nearly have nearly as much give to it. It has a little bit harder and not nearly as sweet. I mean, it's still sweet. I mean, it's a Twinkie after all, but yeah, you guys in the US, I mean, it's so much better.
As it's been explained to me by you, apparently this is because the Mounties care about nutrition. That's what I got from all of our conversations about this. But I don't really think it's the Mounties, but you've all heard this before. If there's anybody who's an official in Canada, I just assume they're a Mountie. It's WWF's fault. It's not mine.
Yeah. Quebecers are making sure those don't come up here.
I love how she uses her one phone call.
Yes.
to call this number from this commercial.
And it's still
not
in
her
business.
mom, not.
And hey, Ray, can you call my mom?
See, this scene gets me, though. I get built up from seeing that scene again, the redo of the commercial, and you get the occult books. Oh, geez. So
How much did Ray or like Winston pay to get that number back? Because like that's the number for like the firehouse, right? And now it's here for the Ray's Occult.
No, they just transferred it. They just, when they just transferred the number. It's okay. It's because the firehouse isn't there. So when they were going to like lose that phone line, they were like, can you just transfer it to Ray's Occult? And they took the red phone with them too.
Well, I guess I didn't get the poll. I guess I'm going to have to take the phone.
Egon got my car, but I got the phone. It'd be kind of funny too.
Janine's all pissed.
I will be honest. There was a part of me that wanted to have a scene in this movie where he also still had the fire bell. And when she picked up the phone and called him in the theater, I was really kind of just goofily hoping he would pound a button and be like, "We got one!" And the bells would start ringing inside of Ray's Occult. He'd go running out, jump into some, I don't know, Toyota Tercel from like 1994.
How were your guys' reaction the first time you heard Ray Stans say Egon Spangler can burn in hell? How did that hit you for the first time when you heard it?
It is an oof. You're like, wait, why? What happened? Like, what do you mean? That's not a thing you should be saying. But
well, I mean, because it's coming from Ray. Like, I mean, he's like the most carefree, go-lucky kind of character. Like, he's just bursting with enthusiasm.
It still hits hard every time I hear it.
It makes the ending of the movie where he's like, I'm sorry. It's just like you feel like, oh God, he's been walking around with this, like, burdening him too at the same time for years. So.
And you got to think too, for Ray to be broken like that by Egon to a point where he doesn't believe him, it must have been going on for years too. So there's got to be some really serious estrangement there between him and Egon. And just shock, because the last time we saw them, they were best buds.
But I think about the number of people who watched this scene and also were like, it doesn't make sense. Ray would never, like, that doesn't make sense that Ray would ever act this way. And I'm like, there's a lot of explain there, like business tensions. Like they're trying to keep themselves afloat and not go out of business. And the one guy one guy is kind of acting out of sorts and being like, no, look, it doesn't matter what any of you are talking about. Like, and getting really amped up about it. you could see how that would really grow as some tension, especially if they were living in the firehouse together. Who knows? So.
Well, the other thing too is like when you go back to Ghostbusters 2, like, I mean, Peter, he moved on, Egon, he moved on. I'm assuming Winston did to some degree. He was probably doing something on the side, but like Ray, he was still very much stuck in that Ghostbuster mindset. He was doing the children's parties. He was still enjoying it. So to like possibly lose it all again. I mean, I could definitely see that really affecting him and like shifting his gear and holding animosity towards Egon.
And you think about what he has tied up into it at a family level. We know this from the first movie that yes, his parents' home was like tied up into this business, like an heirloom handed down to him from generations. So it's like he has a lot, emotionally invested as a character, and we don't get to see that, I think, in the movie as much as we get, this sudden like, I'm mad at my old friend and I'm talking to a child about it who I've never spoken to before, just randomly telling a story to a kid on the phone who's in the slammer.
Yeah. Also, it's 30 years after the last time we saw them.
Yeah.
They're frozen in time for us.
Yeah.
It's true.
But those characters lived lives.
Yeah. In a moment, we're going to talk about like the most unrealistic moment in this entire movie. Because this small child is about to do something that would never result in anyone just walking out of a police station in the United States.
I see what you're saying, but I kind of throw it up to like they don't exactly know what the proton pack is in front of them. I mean, they do know they just destroyed half of the downtown, so I guess you're right. Maybe
they've seen that it's a laser gun that destroys stuff.
Jail.
I just love her explanation. Her mother's explanation. She didn't mean it. No, she didn't mean it at all. She wasn't at all like, I'm going to shoot you down with a laser gun because you talked shit on my grandfather. It does make you wonder if they took it out back and tried to screw around with it. Like the cops. They were like, come on, let's go down to the firing range.
I do love the fact, though, that everybody like in Somerville knows how to use the technology and the equipment. Like he just turned it off just for a shot.
I love the like single blinking light on the, giant set of silos as capacitor. It kind of tells like the foreshadowing of like, this is something else. It's not actually what it looks like.
So is this on the sound stage, this scene, or is this?
Looks like
I think so.
Yeah.
They did reshoots for this movie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one of them is coming up pretty soon. Involves Red and Gary Coon. They talk about that in the commentaries?
I don't remember. They might have.
For all that's going on in this movie, they've got like a pretty endearing relationship going on.
They do. They're fast friends.
It actually feels really organic.
Yeah.
With all this craziness surrounding them.
Mm-hmm.
This scene is hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like this scene is hard to watch to some extent because it's just like the emotions here are so heavy.
A mom and her daughter fighting, and Egon gets called an asshole.
Yeah. But apparently it could have been like way harder. One of the things that is talked about in that Big Head Club commentary that Jason Reitman touched on is that there is a cut of the movie they showed to audiences where Callie breaks the PKE meter here. She severs the connection between Phoebe and Egon, and it tested so poorly and the audience like kind of couldn't like her anymore. So they removed it. But if you look at the scenes later on, and I'll kind of point them out later, when she becomes Zool, when Callie becomes Zool, you see Phoebe leave the house and she discovers that the farm is a giant ghost trap. If you look at the PKE meter, it is broken. It is actually like physically damaged, and the prop has been modified to illustrate that it's been damaged and she's tried to fix it. And so there's like a missing scene from the movie where the PKE meter would have been destroyed or damaged, and then Phoebe would have to set to fix it to reestablish the connection to Grandpa.
It's depressing.
It's a way more depressing read.
I'm glad they cut
I'm really
it.
glad they cut it. Yeah. Not to be like, hey, everybody, let me add on, make this even sadder. But everybody, it's cool. We're going to Walmart. Prices are falling. Rollback time.
I just love the fact that he's going there just to eat some dog food. Like,
yeah.
This has one of my favorite jokes in any movie of all time, and I've loved it since they released that scene. I had our friend Eric Christensen design a graphic of it.
This is what you see right here is a failed marketing tie-in because of a pandemic. Brought to you by Baskin Robbins. There's your Stay Puft marshmallows, which we would all be running down to Walmart just a few times to go buy more of from Walmart's, which is the only place that carried them. They didn't do this though.
Complain about being Canadian again?
It's okay. We have you. We got you taken care of. We're running things over the border for you when you need it.
I thank you for that. Wouldn't have been great instead if it like possessed like that beef jerky on the other side. Just a little jerky man.
It took over a Macho Man Randy Savage Slim Jim display and was just like, oh. Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
I hope we see more of them. Like, why do we not have short films? You know, like the Forky shorts they have on Disney Plus. They could do so much with these mini puffs.
Oh yeah. I also want to reiterate that I still want somebody to cast them out of cement and paint them so I can put them in my yard like garden gnomes all over the place. Talking to you, fun costumes.
Hey now.
I do have a mini puffed on my Roomba, literally right now. Like it's like a permanent fixture.
About to say, fun costumes, they just knocked the price of Proton Pack down. It's not in the budget.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You can make that money back. Just make a whole bunch of these. A lot of them. I'll buy them.
I love the Terminator 2 reference. The thumbs up.
That's the best.
I also love all these other...
Tony Taylor toys.
I love all these other Stay products. The Stay Crisp graham crackers.
It makes sense. Yeah, I love them.
All right, this is my one gripe about the scene that I say. They don't leave the blenders in a Walmart plugged in.
Nor do they have propane hooked up to the grills on display.
I love that, like, in this Walmart, they're like, yeah, sure, why not? It's Oklahoma. We just hook it all up and see what happens.
Their paranormal energy are powering the appliances.
Yeah, I can live with it. It's fine. I'm not, like, at the end of the day, I let it go. But I did the first couple times I watched the movie. Not the first time. By the second or third time, I was like, wait a second. But you're right. He does come all the way here. And basically all he's here for is just to be like, I'm hungry. I need some dog food. Which is a strange concept.
Yeah.
But look at the beautifully well-lit practical terror dog.
It is amazing.
Yes, it's amazing. It's outstanding. It's crazy how good they did this, like how well they did it. And then it's crazy how well they animated the CG version that is composited here to like feel like the old one. Because the old one looks goofy now when you watch it because it's aged a little, right? You watch the one from 84 and you can tell
motion.
That it's stop motion. But this is like a good way of like meeting in the middle. Like it still feels goofy and it has the same physics as the old one, but it's far more realistic. I love the dive through the hood. Like, how would he have even gotten this far if they hadn't already smashed out the window?
See, if he wouldn't have hooked his keys on his belt like that, he probably could have got him.
Stupid public school teachers and their stupid keys on their belts.
Keymaster foreshadow.
Don't get mad, public school teachers. I am of you.
So you just blew up the restaurant. You go back to the restaurant the following day.
I admittedly want to cut this scene alongside the like some music from Seinfeld in the background in a diner scene because it just feels like it belongs there. This is funny now. Like these kids behind them are like, what are you doing? And this is so reminiscent of the jail scene from the 84 movie. Like where the people around them just start looking over the blueprints as they all have them laid out on a table. So in this version, we get that weird callback where the kids behind them are like, what are they doing? And listen to them tell the story about Ivo Shandor. And it's such a like weird, subtle nod to the original movie that I love.
Should have had like a roller granny pop in, and she could have been like the Reginald L. Johnson.
Or she could have popped in and went, "So be good, for goodness sake."
Ghost farmer kids. The principal wants to see you.
Hey,
can we get a ride?
Kids.
Nope. I love the jokes in this movie. They're so bad. They're great. I want this to be like an amusement park ride. I want like Sony as they're building out their water park and things. Be like, you're going to ride down the Shandorian mine in a mine elevator. That's a good one.
I'm really hoping for next year with the 40th anniversary and everything. Like we're going to get like a pretty substantial like Halloween Horror Nights or something like that based on the entire franchise.
That would be great. I would be totally into that. Also, this is a practical set, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Built by the German Ghostbusters.
Shout out to you all in Germany who build great props as we talk about on a regular basis.
That statue's horrifying, but
there so it is. Cool. If you have not seen this, folks, there is they have made, I think it's Die Geisterjäger has made a scaled replica of this for events, which is freaking crazy. Down at the bottom of this hole, there's like 4 Ninja Turtles and a rat. They're eating pizza.
I want to know what's at the bottom. Yeah.
What I think is really interesting here is like how Egon has set up this system to contain what is about to happen over and over again. So for Gozer, like this is Groundhog Day. Every day Gozer gets up and is like 6 a.m. just put your little hand in mine, starts to climb out of the hole, and then 4 proton streams just boom, they cross right over the hole. And
what was like the trial and error like then on Egon's part for this?
Yeah. How many times did she get out and he was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
She's coming.
Just kind of like nudges her and pushes her back in.
I love how it's activated by a PKE meter. The way the wings of the PKE meter go up, and it's what activates the proton streams to turn on. And
so this was crazy when people finally got to see who was playing Ivo Shandor, because it was like kind of, I think, teased the people. I think some people kind of knew about it. I'm not really sure, but
we were aware he was going to be in the film.
Yeah.
But they did not announce anything about his character.
Yeah. I think that's what I mean. Is like, I think people were kind of knew that he was going to be in this movie, but they didn't really know what his involvement was going to be. And so, yeah, this is a thing they had to change in post. They had to actually go and edit that 2021 in, because it originally was a 2020. And because the next movie is then coming like what, in like 2034 or something.
Yeah.
That's how long it's going to take to come out. They have it done, but it's not coming out until they can match up the numbers. Hey, look, I already waited 31 and a half years for a Ghostbusters movie. It's fine.
But the way this whole machine works is awesome. And the way the streams cross, but the beam blasts down. The very beginning of the movie, you see a proton stream blasting straight up with Egon. What was going on there?
I did wonder that too. What that was about. Like, why is there one blowing into the sky when he's fleeing? Did maybe like something that was there get knocked over or something? But then how would it get put back together such that it's still working to contain things? But it's like that's where they know at this point, like it would be potentially bad. Like, remember the first movie, they're like crossing the streams could potentially result in like, every molecule in your body blowing up at the speed of light or whatever. Right. But now Egon's like, it's fine. You just do it over and over again. It works.
It's very Goonies.
It is.
I'd love to see more of him as Shandor in some capacity.
Yeah.
He's so great.
Yeah. There it is. PK meter shuts down.
I love that there's some like spare lightsaber parts on a lot of those proton packs and stuff.
Yeah. See, he was trying to keep everybody, safe, and the whole town was like, he's a weirdo. And that's uncool, everybody. So remember, be cool to weirdos, because they might just be trying to keep you safe from the scariest thing alive. Or undead.
They find out a lot in the mine. They
Yeah.
find out the cause of the earthquakes, and then they figure out their grandfather wasn't crazy. And
So see, if you look at the PKE meter now, it looks like it's got some battle damage on it that it didn't have before.
Now Callie's going to realize that they're not crazy.
Yeah.
Man, the amount of like people that debated and talked about this incoming scene when it comes to like dates and pictures and photos that were shown, just trying to piece the madness together.
Yeah.
I love the look of disdain on her face when she sees the fire pole.
she totally holds the PKE meter like a mom would too.
He has a great ability to like use lamps. It's amazing.
Yeah. I do love the fact though that there's like a staircase so that leads like outside while you're in his lab.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's if I was to
isn't
enter
that
it, that's how I would
deleted
go.
scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There is a pretty strong willingness to use the pole, but I guess it's part of what, brings you to the land of acceptance. It's like, if you ride down the fire pole, then you're ready to encounter the truth. That's the way to look at it.
That would be funny if that was the only way in and out. Like you had to climb back up.
No, that question was definitely asked during that Big Head Club thing.
Yeah,
of like,
I
how do you get
remember that.
out?
Egon's joints are going, this was a bad idea.
Yeah, you got no health insurance once you run away from your friends who you're running your business with. And you're sliding down that pole all the time. How do you think he did, or do you think he used the stairs?
I mean, I would hope the stairs.
This
This was like one of the only jump scares in this movie.
Yeah, legit.
All of
Scared
these
me
photos
first time.
apparently are actually like of Carrie Coon as a child. Like they're all stuff they brought in. So the articles, like the news articles and stuff, are all about her when she was a kid. And they then incorporated them and made some slight changes to them to make them work. So apparently Carrie Coon was really good at soccer because Callie Spengler is really good at soccer. Nope. Sorry.
I'm really surprised that the scene like worked because like on paper, I don't know. It feels like it should, just because like that whole like, there is no Dana, only Zool. It's such an iconic moment. To replicate it just seems like it shouldn't work, but it does.
Yeah. But you're right. Like it is kind of, you're like, oh, she's just going to turn into this character we've seen before. But they do this really well. And the sort of dynamic here of like the kids being involved. Like there's a different feel to this. When you get Dana Barrett as Zool, there's some comedy to it, right? Like it's scary that she's possessed, But everything Venkman is doing adds some comedic level to it. There's nothing really funny here. Like this even has a comedic, element to it, but it's also kind of creepy because it's like he's a kid.
And this is like the last authority figure that actually, now believes them, right?
Right. I mean, I don't even think that she believes them. She believes that Grandpa's real, but I don't know that she necessarily believes the ghost part of it, Yeah. There was a lot of damage to a lot of buildings in this town that day. FEMA had to come in and set up trailers. It's really bad.
Got the Tim Horton 10 bits Canadian staple.
My understanding is that also this whole sliding temple is also practical. Like it moved and did the things, and I don't know how true that is, but it's what I've heard and I've been told. I'm sure somebody can tell me if I'm wrong. Extraplasm Podcast at gmail.com.
There you go.
Oh, you're right. Look at the PKE.
PKE meter's messed up.
Where he's broken, yeah.
And it's because she has now tried to put it back together. So that's part of why it works when they use it is because she's done the work to reassemble it.
And thank goodness for, I'm assuming, graffiti and vandals for spray painting dirt on there. Otherwise, she never would have figured this out.
I that's so odd. I don't think I've ever noticed that Shandor minecart before as a town hall artifact. Even though I've seen this movie 25 times.
I've never noticed it all that ectoplasm somehow. Jeez.
He goes right for the colander hat.
Yeah, straight up.
Doesn't even waste time, doesn't ask any questions, doesn't know what it does, straps it right on.
It's amazingly lucky, though, that he puts that hat on in the scene because this is a reshoot and he looks like, I don't know, at least a year older. It's probably 2 or 3
You
years
can tell
older.
the wig's a little different here. You're going to look at Trevor's hair is much longer than it was in the scene before. Not to be hey, we're pulling the threads, but I will say this. I've seen this prop of the model at Sony. It's in the museum if you go there and go take the tour. And this thing is freaking amazing. It's made of pencils and all kinds of different stuff you'd find laying around the desk. It's just all junk that batteries and, just random stuff that he uses almost like Legos as the character to build it. Whoever put that together, whoever the prop designer was, you're a freaking genius. That thing's amazing. It's going to sell someday at an auction for way too much money. Also, by the way, just so we're talking about auctions real quick. If you haven't heard, we talked about this a few weeks ago, this idea that the Sony prop house is going to be closing up shop and they're going to liquidate the prop house. I'm going to get me one of those USB drives because I think it's in there.
All the good stuff. But see, the thing about that auction is that all the good stuff is probably in the archive already, right? So you're probably going to get
nobody's going to pay attention to that USB drive. I'm telling you, I'm going to get it for 49 cents. No one's going to care.
What does she say? What does she say there?
No one knows.
I was so excited when this came out on Blu-ray, and I was like, man, they're finally going to have it there. Yeah. And it either says nothing or it just inaudible or what have you.
Yeah. It's not clear what she says. I love that he drew on his own name tag.
And
that was important to him.
He had time to do that. It took a few moments. Let me say this. That's got to be a really impressive lift. That car weighs a lot.
Yeah. Nothing but stupid guns.
A jail inside a jail.
I mean, really, all jails would be inside a jail, right?
You're right. Every cell would be a jail inside a jail. I love this scene of they just give you the clues of him working it out, and you're like, he's gonna do it. I was so excited when he did it the first time I saw it in the movie. Why? Here's a question. Why is that Muncher doesn't phase through things? Like
it's like they choose to do it because he eats that, but then he phases through the ceiling,
right?
And he squeezes.
It makes me wonder.
He loves metal.
It makes me wonder if most of the metal objects in town that are old enough are made of selenium because they mine so much of it, and like somehow he can't pass through stuff because it's made of selenium. I don't know. Like,
what if he would have ate the proton pack?
Yeah. I mean, total protonic reversal is what? Look at that turn.
I love the Stay Puffed sign on the liquor store.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be so fun to drive that car, but not to own it because I'd be terrified of what I would do to it. Them walking hand in hand like that is just kind of funny. Like, you didn't really see like a relationship in this capacity in the original movie between, you know, like they just show up and they're trying to like get with each other. They're seeking each other out. And then we see them kiss, and the next thing we know, they transform. Here, it's like they hooked up. They were in the middle of a field. They had a nice walk to the temple, holding hands.
They ate dandelions together.
When two people, they love one another, you know, they get together, and it's a different experience. You know, sometimes you get a special relationship.
Well, that's how you know it's real. Like, because that's Dana and Lewis don't have that dynamic, but you know, Callie and Gruberson,
these kids, they're gonna make it.
Yeah, they're gonna make it. They're gonna be fine.
Yeah,
they're gonna bring about the end of the world, and then they're gonna bring about some more stuff together.
There's gonna be like a montage in the next movie to like Nothing's Gonna Stop Me Now, or what's that Mannequin song?
That's it.
Yeah, there you go. I said it out loud, then I was thinking about like the Perfect Stranger song, and I was like, is that it? No, what?
This is so funny.
I was so excited for Shandor. I was.
I love too how they unknowingly kind of like the character looks so much like his Ghostbusters the video game appearance.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, no, we didn't base him off that. It was just, we took period pieces around that time, what people look like, and this is him.
That him being ripped in half like that to me is like the equivalent of at the beginning of that movie with Harrison Ford, where he's in the plane as the president, and what is it? Steven Seagal shows up for like a hot 90 seconds of that movie, and then he dies. Like, he's just bam, he's gone. It's kind of the same thing here.
So she finally gets through
so funny,
and just decides to chill. Enters another dimension.
Like, I got time to spare.
Chill.
It's all good.
Kick it right here.
I gotta relax for a
It's
few
her favorite
minutes.
cave.
It took a long time to climb up that hole. I gotta take a breather.
If that's all Gozer was going to do when she came to our dimension, was just going to, chillax, and
You have to wonder if like this is something Gozer's ever really encountered before. Like, has Gozer met kids?
So if Gozer can be whatever it wants to be, does it just really like being this
flat-topped person? This is a different version. The bubbles are not so much. The harsh, sharp edges and the lightning is more.
This version likes Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
We call this one a little bit more toyetic. Despite not having a toy.
It's true.
Were her eyes originally red at one time, and they changed them to black for a reason? Wasn't there something about her eyes, Gozer's eyes?
You mean in this movie
I
or
do recall.
overall?
In this movie, yeah. Because in the original, they're red, and in this one, they're black.
I don't know.
I did hear something about that. I don't know why they changed it, though.
Now, this effect of like what it looks like when Gozer is only supported by one of the two
is awesome.
Terror Dogs is a really cool concept. I like it.
The concept art for it, too, is amazing looking.
Yeah.
Like how the one Terror Dog's just like sitting there for a few moments, just like, I don't know what.
What do I do about this? This has never happened before.
Mom? Help?
You got Humpy. It's such like kid language. It's so funny. Sinners.
Great callback to the beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm. Sinners and sacks.
Yep. We know.
Yes.
I'm aware.
This is another total mom move too.
Which, to be by the way, is kind of creepy if you think about it. It's a little weird. How do you get all those photos? Who's he getting them from? Who's going to all these events and sending him stuff?
Janine.
Janine's everywhere. Janine just goes and runs all his business for him everywhere.
Maybe she's a private eye now.
That's a spin-off television show. Janine Milnitz, private detective.
We got one.
I like the concept that like she can just shoot the terror dog and the terror dog is like, I recoil, I stop. But it's weird that she doesn't manage to tether the ghost that's inside the terror dog to pull it out. Like the trap can. But the proton pack doesn't seem to be able to do that. It just acts as a defensive blast. In other words, you got to use your boson darts to soften them up. Well, as somebody who lives in California where people are canceling home insurance due to risks of fire and weather and things, I don't think Egon's family's getting another insurance policy on this house, personally. I think they're
what do you
gonna
claim
have
this
to
under?
figure out what to do with this house now. They can't insure it.
Now, the fact that they kind of recreate the opening with this,
Yeah.
with Phoebe holding the trap versus Egon holding the trap at the beginning, it makes me think that the thing walking towards Egon at the beginning is Gozer.
Yeah. It's not
because
like,
why would he try to use the whole trap field on just the other terror dog?
that is the question, right? Like, what was the
True.
plan? Was it to
Yeah.
or was it that he had one terror dog and he was hoping he could catch the other, but he was set up to
but would he
capture
use this whole
Gozer, like if he
trap
needed
field?
to? You know?
Yeah.
Maybe he had more than one plan. Maybe like that was one version of the plan was I'll try and catch each of the ghosts individually, and then if I can't, I can at least, if the Gozer comes here, I'll be able to catch Gozer in the field. I don't know.
That is horrifying.
Yeah. I don't want to hang out with that.
Aren't these spirit
Yes,
traps?
they are.
Yep.
I believe the number is 198 or something.
You can see like the inside of the door grate towards the end.
There's a really interesting video that Tested did with Adam Savage that shows how this trap field was like set up, and it was in a giant matrix connected to a series of like 12-volt car batteries, and then run off control boards so they could pop them all at the same time. My question is whether or not they replaced the actuators and motors, because if they didn't, then it means they went and bought all those Walmart traps. Because that's the only trap that had a motor in it. But I think it's more likely they bought spirit traps and added their own motors to them.
And where are the traps now?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
I've got my own problems.
I was so happy the mini puffs came back. I was worried they were really going to be in the Walmart
My favorite scene they have in the entire movie is going to come in a few moments when...
Oh, in the windshield?
Yeah, and the Ghostbusters show up and they're in the back window going, ah, like fangirling. It is interesting here that like the ghost, once freed, rejects Callie. It's just like, nope, I'm done with you. You failed. This is such great effects work.
Yeah.
She just wants to be happy with her dogs. Why can't people leave her alone? She just wants to go jogging, with her dogs without being bothered.
They legit found, though, like the perfect balance between like that old school Gozer and something new.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, she looks great.
Yeah.
It's the character is very recognizable, but still a different form of it because, in fact, you know, it can choose to be whatever it wants to be. So there they are. You got those guys. If you got a HasLab pack, you got 3 of them.
Was there any talk in that commentary, Jim, about how they got to this middle of nowhere farm?
Yeah. How did they arrive?
I don't know. I imagine that there is a logical explanation for that maybe we'll get someday in like
We're
an
waiting,
extended
Jim.
commentary.
I mean, as I said, when I first watched this movie, hole in the wall place with like a bunch of friends, and they obviously weren't as hardcore of Ghostbuster fans as I was, but like that was the big question. Everybody left was like, so the original guys,
I think that they came on Marine Ecto 8, except that Oklahoma is landlocked, so that can't be it. Like, but maybe they took Ecto too, you know? They just hopped on, like, from the real Ghostbusters. They just hopped on that weird little motorcycle-y looking flying contraption they have and showed up.
I bet that Winston here is doing well enough. He's got a jet.
I was about to say.
I believe that Winston probably has enough money as a billionaire executive in finance that he was like, fire up the private jet. We're going. And, you know. And then he yelled out, get the super jackpot. And that was awesome.
Fast talking, sciencey Dan Aykroyd, he makes me tingle a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, so good.
All the members of Ducks Unlimited. They're all not happy about this Gozer. That looked like it hurt. They do talk about how much it hurt in a second, but whoever did that stunt work feels like they put a nice dent in that car with their back.
Well, Bill got like legit hurt on set, right? Like when they were filming this.
I don't know.
He was complaining about having to be on the ground.
I remember he got dinged up, and there's a couple like behind the scenes photos of his hand being bandaged up.
Oh, I think you're right. I think I do remember that.
Yeah, I forget the actual like reasoning or what have you, what led to it, but
yeah.
I love the fact that out of all the guys to return, the one guy that would get hurt on a Ghostbusters set is Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Winston's attempt at the one-handed shot.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be honest. I have not understood how it is that she's able to hold off Gozer with one proton pack. And to this day, I really do believe that proton pack was supposed to be different and special.
I agree. It's the Spangler pack. It's got some extra things on it.
And it's the pack that Lucky opens the door. Like, that's where that pack comes from, because Phoebe doesn't have it at first or whatever, right? So it's like...
Yeah, that's the one on the ground.
And when you look at the Hasbro toys, Lucky came with a purple neutrino wand stream that was like never utilized in anything else. So I've kind of wonder if this was supposed to be a special upgraded pack that he had worked on. This, when it happened, I just began weeping in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It took a few watches of this movie to see it through clear eyes.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
It does.
Like, I don't know another movie that's matched it.
Compared to some of the other bringing back past people for a movie special effects, it's by far the best.
And just the cinematography of the scene too, with like, you know, the 3 guys together. You see kind of Spangler or Egon and Phoebe kind of nudging their way over to the other 3. I mean, it's so well done.
Yeah.
I love, you can just see the top of Phoebe's head.
Yep.
Yeah.
That look, the Ernie Hudson look there of like, I don't know what to make of this.
He elbows Bankman is the best. And Ray just, of course, huge smile.
To me, out of the 3, Ernie Hudson was the one that really understood like the assignment. Like,
yes, I agree. All right, I don't know how the physics of this work, and I don't care.
I want to know what they're going to do after. Like, what do you do with all these traps now?
I have had the same question of like, you now have Gozer broken up into 198 little pieces. What do you do with them all?
And
eBay.
They're all miners too, right? They're all the miners, the ones that's the sacrificial death pit. They jumped down in there. All these ghosts escaped out of that.
Yeah, I mean, well, whatever.
So you got-
yeah, I don't know. It's a
That's
lot.
amazing.
It's a lot of PKE. He's like, I'm good now. Now it's set.
So was he wearing the jumpsuit when he died? When he had the heart attack?
I mean, he was wearing the boots. So,
Yeah,
like,
I like to
you
think
tend
so.
to think
he
so.
I think he was
with
just-
like an overcoat.
Yeah. And such a great, just like way of telling his story and giving him like a send off. You know, it's just, I love this movie so much.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be so touching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, from a Ghostbusters
Yeah.
movie.
I feel like it does this thing, like the fandom had a wound of like not having closure on sort of like how Ramis is passing and not getting in the movie that we thought maybe we would get someday after seeing that 30th and, you know, after seeing the video game and stuff. Like,
It does feel like a good bookend to start something new.
yeah. It would have been weird if they pulled her. They opened that up and Rick Moranis was inside and that was his cameo.
Who does your taxes?
Who turned out the lights again?
I did want a scene with Gruberson and the original Ghostbusters with Venkman, and I really wanted to see
Yeah, you
him
don't-
fanboy out over it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't interact with them at all. It's disappointing.
I'm sure we'll get some of that in the
Oh,
next
I
movie,
sure hope so.
You know. Here it is.
Yes.
Oh.
You're my subscriber?
So Jim, in the next film, if we find out podcast like ended his podcast at like episode 60, like
I'm not ending Extraplasm after that, if that's what you're asking me. No.
this is our farewell show.
Get to delete all the episodes leading up to that as well.
No. We will just revisit every 46 episodes, which, in case you're wondering, means that I get 52 weeks at 6 weeks off per year. It's like a job now, except it's not.
Tom, you guys interviewed Bob, didn't you? Bob Gunton?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
when he was cast for this role and figured out like what it was, he's like, why
Yeah.
why did you pick me if you're just going to replace everything? Like he was like, really? And like kind of didn't want to do it, or
Yeah,
That was
and
cool to hear.
it was really interesting too because he was at FanFest when they were talking about this movie. You know, he was there on the Wizard World part of things. He had a signing table, and that
Oh,
was well
coincidence.
before because he didn't get
Wow,
cast
I
till
didn't
very late
realize
in the
that at all.
process.
I had no idea.
Wow.
that.
Yeah, I didn't even.
Wow.
Wow.
And he'd never met Harold, didn't know him, but he had worked with Bill and Ernie before.
I just remembered the guy who was inside the Raphael suit was there.
well, when he
Sorry.
explained what was explained to him for the role, like they wanted people to be able to react off of somebody who could act and everything. It did make a lot of sense. So they put a lot of thought into doing this.
This is designed to make you cry no matter
And
how
it
old you
works.
are, and it works.
How do you guys feel about Moogly and this guy?
I think it's cute, and I think that like
Yeah.
for people who spotted it, it was cool. You know,
It's like so many things happen right there.
It
with
really
the
is.
ghost and the Moogly and then the Four Herald, and it's just so much
Now I
gut
said
punch
it
in a good way.
when this movie first came out, when the whole Harold scene, I kind of got choked up on, but this is what got me. I don't know why. Mainly because I guess I was waiting for the theme song to be played again in a theater for so many
Yeah.
years. But like when this song hit again,
That closing shot.
There it is. Yeah.
Jason Reitman mentions this on the Big Head Club commentary that is a shot that was taken from Venom. That they needed another.
Really?
They didn't have a New York shot, and it would have costed them so much money to go get an aerial of New York, that they took that footage from the Venom movie that was being produced at the same time, and the Ecto is CGI'd in on top of the bridge. Which answers your question of why does the Ecto 1 enter New York City from Brooklyn? Because it would have to come from Oklahoma, go through all of New York City to get to Brooklyn, and then loop past it. It would make no sense.
Loop past it.
Right. Or they'd have to fly the car to JFK, presumably, and then maybe it would drive in. Arguably, that would make sense. But the real insider reason why at a production level is that they didn't want to spend the money on getting an aerial shot in New York City, so they already had something they could use because Sony was producing Venom at the same time.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's like realizing how many times Klingon warbirds show up in different Star Trek stuff because they're just cheap to reuse. I love that this movie you can watch the credits and just hit pause over and over again. We're not going to do it right now for everybody, but there's so much you can read and
Easter eggs and blueprints and
yeah. And it adds so much technical data that's one of the weird things this movie does is that we got to see slime blowers and we never got any question about how does a slime blower work? No, it's just magical slime that makes people happy or sad or angry or whatever. And this movie kind of, I feel like, gives you that a little more scientific underpinning to, what is a story about at its root, magic. Okay, here's the scene that I really want to know how much more of this is. There's got to be more of this, of them inside this apartment.
Well, the assumption is that Janine goes around and she wrangles everybody up, I think, right? There's some photos and videos of her with Dana outside the apartment door. So it seems like there was this whole mini subplot that was kind of just axed.
Yeah. That something was going to be happening here, that he was going to get, maybe they were going to meet up with her. I don't know. It's not something that has ever been talked about, I think, officially, but
even if there was more, maybe she has additional scenes. This is a pitch perfect way to say goodbye if we don't see Dana Barrett again.
Yeah.
We know she's still out there.
A lot of questions.
It answers where'd she end up? And it's okay, they ended up together. That's so kind of nice that they got older and they stayed together and became, a couple who shock each other for fun. Or at least she shocks him. And, this is their dynamic. She's the boss.
Well, as I said earlier, one day you find somebody special in your life and, you find out what gets you through the day, what you enjoy. But no, kudos for her. I mean, both this movie and Ghostbusters 2016, she showed up for a day of work.
Yeah,
and got good pay and looks fabulous.
It's in her contract. She's only allowed to show up for after credit scenes in Ghostbusters films.
My understanding is this song was not even actually released yet when they put it out. McKenna Grace put this song out and put a little video out for it, but when they put it in the movie, it was this didn't even exist as a
it was last minute
thing. It was last minute, yeah.
At the premiere, they gave us McKenna's family gave us a little postcard, and she was they were talking about how this song was dropping the next week on iTunes, and she was trying to get everybody to pre-buy it. I guess
it's a perfect fit for the movie, though.
Yeah, it ends the movie well.
Yeah,
and
that's the big thing that I really miss. I think about this film though is Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2. I mean, those soundtracks were just rocking. And I don't know. I know we're past the age nowadays when it comes to having that, music used in type of albums or what have you. But I really do miss that.
Yeah. I think that, we don't get as much of compilations. The only movies I can think of that are Guardians of the Galaxy is built around music often. So it's still something that consideration still exists. But it would be really cool if they did a well-produced soundtrack album for the next Ghostbusters movie. That would be nice.
Bobby Brown, 2024 cut of On Our Own. That's all I want.
No, it's the We're Back remix. Because we're back again. That's the lesser known track from
why are you against why are I just want Bobby. I just want more on our own. Greatest song
I'm
ever
not
written.
against anything. I'm just like, let's get We're Back.
Well, I mean, it's okay.
It's just an Extraplasm against Bobby Brown and on our own.
And that's where we got to at the end of the 46th episode. We were like, we found our voice, and our voice is to have a great disdain for Bobby Brown. No, not at all.
I've seen those documentaries. What you did to Whitney. No, I love Bobby. Get Finn Wolfhard there playing the guitar. McKenna Grace can do backup. Wonderful.
We need a really goofy music video to go with it. That'd be good. There's a lot of people who worked on this movie.
Yeah.
I think
you know what they could do? They could go get Bob Gunton, and he could get like fill in for all the celebrities that passed away from the 84 Ray Parker. They're like, here's Columbo.
Well, it worked the last time. Why not?
Yeah. Was that John Candy? No, that was Bob.
That's awesome. There's like, I mean, thank you to everybody who worked on this movie. I love this movie so much, and it's something that I will say, I waited 31 and a half years for this movie to arrive, and it did not disappoint me when it did. And I've really grown to only love it more the more that I sit down and watch it and enjoy it. And I know we poked some fun at certain things in the movie, but there's not like I don't do the same thing with the first movie. It's not like I don't go, oh look, there's Venkman with his Thorazine again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lethal
I propose
dose.
an extra special thanks, though, to the unsung hero who played Egon in that opening.
Yes.
And if you're listening to this show now, reach out to Venkmaniac at extraplasm.com.
No, that's not the weird place. It's Extraplasm Podcast at gmail.com. I don't own extraplasm.com. I don't know if anybody does. If they do, I don't want it. You can keep
I'm
it.
going to get it now.
Now, all of this that we're waiting on here is thanks to the delays, correct? They
Yes.
filmed all of
Yeah.
this.
Yes. The final
post-credit
moments
stuff.
of this movie.
Even the Janine, though? The Janine and
Well,
Ernie? Well,
I think it was
So I
really
asked him-
just the firehouse.
Yeah,
I asked him, though, and Ernie told me that them shooting at the firehouse was always going to happen. It was always in the script. And that it was going to be picked up later. And then they ended up picking up even later because of the strike the pandemic. But who knows?
I remember seeing pictures of the basement wall with a containment unit all built on it, and them driving it and like dropping it off in front of the old fire station in LA.
Friend of the show, JD Raymer, drove down to the firehouse on that day. He left his job on lunch and was just like, I'm going to go see what's going on.
Smartest
And
man in the business.
He actually got there later. They had left. Everything was gone. But there were all these people around in MTV Music Awards shirts because they were just people who got crew shirts from something they were working on. So when he came back, he's like, I think maybe they're doing an MTV Music Awards appearance and they're bringing in the kids to be like hip. And it never happened. And they were like, damn. Yeah, so you stick around all the way to the end, and you get to see the return of Ecto-1. Well, there's your warning telling you that the depictions of tobacco were not approved by anybody. No animals.
Also,
were
the
hurt.
fact that this movie is complete fiction. To make sure.
This is not a documentary.
What?
Yeah.
This does not depict the life of Dan Aykroyd.
Doesn't it, though?
And then hundreds or thousands of Ghostbusters fans ran to eBay and typed in World's Fair coin. And for weeks, people debated about which one was the right one.
I was about to say at least half of them bought the wrong one.
Yep.
So.
Hey, shout out to is the Frog Brothers, right? Who found a cache of those and helped people to get them.
That's where I got mine.
Yeah, you have to assume that this scene exists like independent of what follows, right? That she had to be like, I came to see you and talk to you about something.
Mm-hmm.
You did great for yourself. Nice place.
I thought that was
It definitely feels like there should be that scene though of once again her coming in just like breaking the news of Egon. You know, like,
Yeah.
it feels like this would be it.
I think you're right, Jason. Makes sense. Maybe they cut these two things together. Maybe they both existed in different forms.
She's actually there because she's like, I have a proposition for you. I'm opening a detective agency.
Wait a minute. Is the other pole there?
Yeah, it's in his office.
There's two. That's right. There's two poles.
No, I'm curious about the firehouse.
He just touched it in the firehouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is two. That's right. Egon's
Is there
like,
a pole in the actual firehouse?
No. The firehouse poles are actually been gone for quite a long time. They were
yeah, see, the
stolen
second
many
one's
years ago.
gone, the one they use.
Oh.
So he did yeah.
Egon took it.
the fire pole.
Mystery solved. See, he knew they had two, so he wasn't that big of a jerk. He might throw chessboards on the floor, but he'll leave you at least one pole.
There's the
You gotta
containment
take the pole
unit.
next to the arcades, not next to the the dinner
And
table.
the reason it's malfunctioning and then we're going to have another Ghostbusters movie is because of all those Starbucks employees who just kept throwing coffee grounds in that containment unit.
That was a garbage disposal.
Well, that was it. That's Ghostbusters Afterlife, everybody.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Like, no, it was miserable.
So Afterlife.
This was a lot of fun. I think that we kind of touched on a bunch of different things that maybe people do or don't know about the movie. And if nothing else, hopefully it was an enjoyable listen to and a new experience to watch the movie with. I want to say one more time that I really appreciate all three of you. You're awesome people and you've added a ton to this podcast. And I hope that you'll continue to come on by and say hi as we enter into year 2 of Extraplasm. Thank you again for coming on the show. You've all been wonderful. And I want to say that if you are a big fan of action figures, you should, of course, check out Tony Taylor's Fantazm toys and TCU's, Tom's TCU toys. If you're a big fan of autographs, you should, of course, go and check out the Containment Unit autograph collecting group on Facebook. And if you need any information at all about Ghostbusters news, probably in a more timely fashion than coming on this podcast and letting me tell you about it, you should go to ghostbustersnews.com and engage what Jason's bringing out there because he's been doing it for many years, and so much of this show and the commentary that we get to offer about what's going on wouldn't exist if it weren't for the fact that Jason put so much out there to begin with first. So thank you to all three of you. And I think that about wraps it up for our giant-sized Extraplasm episode 46 Afterlife commentary. Thanks for coming along, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Pleasure's all ours.
All right. We'll see you again soon. Take care. That about wraps things up for Extraplasm this week. I want to say thank you again to Tom, Tony, and Jason for coming on the show and providing the commentary and helping us ring in episode 46. And of course, I want to say thank you to you again. The show wouldn't be anything if you weren't here to listen to it and to engage. So if you want to talk more about things that are going on, if you want to chat about the show or things that are happening, or you have information you want to share, commentary, you can of course always reach me at Extraplasm on Instagram, on Twitter, and extraplasompodcast@gmail.com. Beyond that, I also want to say thank you as always to Brendan Pearce of Badoochi Studios, who has done the amazing work of providing us a logo for the last year. I mean, essentially gave us a visual identity and a branding when what we had before was stuff I hacked together in Photoshop. And then Brendan rescued us and said, hey, here's actual branding. So thank you to Brendan for essentially providing the visual identity for Extraplasm, not just its logo, because I say that every week, but it really is a visual identity that you gave the show, and I love you for it. You're awesome. For those of you who can, go out and support Brendan. Go take a look at what he's got on his Instagram page, the things he's producing, and of course, you can always support him by buying some, Fantazm toys with Tony Taylor. And thank you to vaporwave artist MAGNAVOX, whose version of Ghostbusters we utilize every week as our theme song. And I want to say thank you so much again for being here for a whole year. If you weren't here for the whole year and you just came onto the podcast, feel free to check out the back catalog. And as Ernie Hudson says every week,
try to have fun and always keep on busting. Take care.